got an article. We'll go through the article and then we'll see if people want to join in and have a discussion about it. All right. Okay, so let's switch over. All right, great. Can you see that? All right. Okay. So Chernobyl isn't the biggest nuclear risk. Ukraine's active nuclear power plants are. Ukraine said Friday morning that its 15 reactors were still operating safely and securely, but nuclear power plants are not designed for war zones, one expert said. You would think that would be obvious. It's not obvious. While much attention has been paid to Chernobyl this week as Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues, there is growing concern about the 4 active nuclear power plants that supply half of the nation's power. Those 4 power plants located near towns and cities in western and southern Ukraine contain 15 operating nuclear reactors. The concern is that a nuclear disaster could occur if during the conflict they were accidentally damaged, left unmaintained, or cut off from the power grid needed to cool the reactors. Ukraine reported that its country's nuclear power plants are still operating safely, said the International Atomic Energy Agency Friday morning. But the organization, which is dedicated to the peaceful use of nuclear energy, said it remained deeply concerned. IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi reiterated his appeal for maximum restraint to avoid any action that could jeopardize plant safety, the group said. James Acton, the co-director of the nuclear policy program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, wrote in a blog post that Friday that he is more concerned about the 4 nuclear power plants than Chernobyl, the site of the 1986 disaster that forced the then Soviet Union to abandon the nearby city and create the 1,000 square mile Chernobyl exclusion zone. While there was reported fighting near the site until Russian forces overtook it, the 15 operational nuclear reactors are closest to populated cities and towns, and their fuel is much more radioactive than that of Chernobyl, Acton wrote. To put it simply, nuclear power plants are not designed for war, he said. He added, it seems exceedingly unlikely that Moscow would authorize deliberate attacks on these facilities, but they can nonetheless become targets in a war that will, in any case, disrupt their operations. And I guess this is a map of them, the Ukraine 4 active nuclear power plants. Yeah. And they apparently supply half of Ukraine's energy. So this is a map of where they are. I guess the active ones are the red dots. Actually, don't know. Yeah, hon. Sorry, because I'm using the thing. The colors aren't showing up properly. So the reds are active nuclear reactors. The bangs, these things are confirmed attacks and reported attacks. Okay, all right, there we go. Okay, yeah, all right. So these must be it. Yeah, these are the reactors, and then the attacks. Getting closer. All right. The issue is not just the reactors may be damaged, and the fighting experts say, but that the staff tasked with safely operating the plants may fear traveling to work, and those who are responsible for addressing an accident, such as firefighters, could be stymied by the ongoing conflict. The plants also use electric power to cool its reactors, said Edwin Lyman, director of nuclear power safety for the Union of Concerned Scientists, and it could cause problems if they were cut from Ukraine's grid. He said if they are disconnected from the electrical grid, plants need to be able to use emergency diesel generators to power a shutdown and keep the reactor fuel cool, though the generators have their own limited fuel supply. Electricity is also needed to keep the spent nuclear fuel contained in wet storage pools from heating up. If those cooling operations are disrupted, there's a possibility of a meltdown, he said, and even a fire in the spent fuel pool where there is a great deal of radioactive material. The goal is to keep the electricity flowing and let the cooling systems operating, he said. The public utility company that operates the plants, Energodom, did not respond to a request for comment about safety concerns during the conflict. However, Petro Cody, the head of the organization, told the United Nations in early February that the plants are prepared for a special period such as bombing attack. special period. Okay. In such a case, the plant is shut down and unloaded until the threat is eliminated, he said, though he claimed the Ukrainian power units are ready even for an aircraft crash because the reactor was designed for such a risk. The Ukrainians were also prepared to operate each plant autonomously in case access to internet or telephone communications is lost, Cody said, noting that each plant had stockpiled diesel fuel to run generators if power was ever shut off. The generators would, if necessary, keep the plants operational and the reactors cool. Each plant also has a stockpile of 2 years' worth of nuclear fuel. He said, a strategic decision recommended by the United States in case the Russians ever cut the nuclear fuel supply. Weeks prior to the invasion, Energodom said it was working with the American company Westinghouse Electric Corporation to become fully independent of Russian nuclear fuel within the next 2 years. The two organizations also struck an agreement in November to optimize a dozen reactors in Ukraine, which the U.S. Department of Energy said at the time would significantly increase the country's clean power production. The Energy Department did not respond to a request for a comment, but Westinghouse said in a statement that it was watching with horror the events surrounding the Russian invasion of Ukraine, adding that the company remains in active communication with our counterparts around the globe regarding its effects. The safety and security of our employees in Ukraine and around the world is our priority. We continually monitor the situations, and we are taking proactive measures and precautions as needed. So the spokeswoman, Westinghouse, remains steadfast in its commitment to Ukraine and its people. She did not comment on the status of employees or provide details of the operations plants in Ukraine. Leibman said he would expect both Ukraine and Russia to be extremely careful around the plants. He also noted that Ukraine's power plants are Russian or Soviet design and similar to ones that still operate in Russia. So if I was Russia and my plan was to take over Ukraine, I would have crews in place to operate the plants in lieu of Ukrainians in case they decided to strike or there was so much disruption in the civil sector that they couldn't work. He said, I hope they are doing that. I hope that's they got that lined up. I mean, they've had time to plan this, so. Russian forces have reportedly used a different tactic in Chernobyl. They have held the Ukrainian staff hostage. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. They have held the Ukrainian staff hostage at the site and forced them to continue working. Wow. According to Valeria Seda, the acting director general of the Chernobyl site. Wonderful. The capture of the station and the conduct of any military action there threatens to repeat the second Chernobyl, from which Europe is still recovering, Seda said, adding that all the responsibility for the nuclear radiation safety, the condition of the facilities, and the further development of the situation in the exclusion zone are on the invaders. Oksana Markova, the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S., said Friday that 92 people at the site were taken hostage. The White House has called for the release of any hostages at Chernobyl. Actually, did not know that was happening. Ukraine, however, has also attempted to tamp down concerns of higher radiation measurements around Chernobyl. The nation's nuclear regulator said in a statement Friday that higher readings could be connected to the disturbance of the top layer of soil from movement of a large number of heavy material machinery, though the exclusion zone and increase of air pollution. The International Atomic Energy Agency said that the readings it was provided remained low and they were within the measurement range since the Chernobyl exclusion zone was established. The agency said it did not appear to pose a danger to the public. Yeah, so that was a bit. So I want to introduce you to all of that. So this is a big danger. This is a huge risk. This is a massive risk and something to be afraid of, right? The idea that the idea that something could happen. Look, so I don't think the Russians would just target nuclear power plants. I think they're smart enough to not do that, right? I'm gonna give them benefit of the doubt that there aren't complete fucking morons. Right? Okay. And if that's the case, not complete fucking morons, then they should know to not take aggressive action near here. But this is also war, right? This is war. So accidents happen. Like friendly fire happens. They know not to shoot their own troops, but troops die from friendly fire all the time. So it's not inconceivable with cruise missiles flying around, right? That something could happen. So this could be a huge, huge danger. And what I wanted to talk about in like an open panel is if this makes you rethink nuclear power at all, right? Looking at this, this spark any concern in you that something like this can happen, and what the Russians are doing in fucking Ukraine, and sorry, in Chernobyl, where they're just like, okay, we're just kidnap, yeah, we'll kidnap the maintenance crew, right? The operators. We'll just force them to work at gunpoint. I imagine that, and I'm just guessing. I imagine that a lot of those people would have stayed any which way, right? For dedication, because they know like their work is important. They are needed at a nuclear facility, right? That like maybe tell their families to flee. But that's a weird sound. Sorry. But they themselves don't have that option. That could happen. So yeah, I'm really curious what y'all have to say. So if you guys want to be part of this, exclamation point open in chat. Lets you know. This is an open walk-on panel. All members like you, yes, you're sitting at home, may participate. Join Discord server and go into the rowboat waiting room so you'll be let in. And there's a link for your convenience. We'd love to have you. Yeah, so let's see if you guys want to join in and have a discussion on this. We'd love to talk with you. Okay. While we're waiting to see if anyone's gonna join up, let's take a look at your messages here. Okay, the U.S. stores our nuclear waste water in open pools. They say if you crash a two-seater into pools around New York plant, whole East Coast will be Chernobyl. Oh, like a two-seater plane, maybe? If you crash that into the pools around New York, the whole East Coast will be Chernobyl. I don't know how would that be the case. They store the wastewater in pools. I'm guessing the pools aren't near any other, well, shouldn't be, and near any other water sites. Like, I could see a breach happening in the pools, but why would that turn the whole East Coast into Chernobyl? Two-seater plane, yeah. I don't know how that would work. Maybe I'm just not understanding the scenario properly. Eclipse, I didn't get to say thank you for joining. Thank you for the follow previously. Gert Hart says, I am one of many Russians who are upset at Russia. Oh, are you? Okay. Shout out to you. There are a lot of Russians out there who are protesting. So much appreciated to those who are out there. Oh, there are two people who looks like they only want to join. All right, let me quickly read this, and then I'll let those other people in. And hit the power supply plants, backup power let's last a week or two. I'm assuming maybe a few days if you can't bring in generators. Yep, bet it happens. Alexa Legends, the Russian government feels like it's full of comic book villains. The only point in war that you can entirely control is the point where you choose to begin one. Yeah, that's true. Good point, Wick. Hello, writer. What, white rice? Oh, white rice. Hello, hi. This isn't war. This is expansion. Ukraine is high in natural resources. Russia needs natural resources. That's why Russia is invading Ukraine. SEAL Team West's backup diesel would kick in to slowly shut down the reactions. That's what they're used for. You can't just shut it off. So as long as the generator slowed the reactions. Yeah, but what if the generators are also damaged? Right? Like, there's lots of things that can happen in war. You are correct, Prime, and probably not only in Russia or Ukraine. Google is getting weird, nothing but spamming news stories now. Okay. The Turk. Oh, am I wrong about something? Turk? Well, come on in. We'd love to talk to you. Okay. Let's let those other people in. Oh, there are a few people who've jumped in. Let's have a conversation. All right. Do we have? Hey, do we have a mod who can help us out in the waiting room? A mod who can assist us in the waiting room? Yeah, I can get a mod in the waiting room. That would be quite helpful. Mod in the waiting room. All right. We'll be there soon. Okay. Well, then we'll just wait for that. I'm. Wick says I'm for nuclear power, but I am not educated enough to defend that position well. Okay. So I'm just gonna wait to see if someone says something dumb, then go in. Okay. All right. Okay. So there I am, and we'll wait to see if others will want to join. We got a few people in the waiting room. Yeah, so when I saw this story, it gave me a lot of pause. Like, like, again, like it's fair to say that it's unlikely, but it's fair to say that it's unlikely, but the danger is real. Like the expert said, like these things aren't designed for war zones. Oh, hey, Benja.
Hey, Prime.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I got a job lined up.
Oh, that's nice. I'm happy for you. Yeah.
I'll be able to sub to you. No.
Oh, that would be nice. For everyone, hooray! We got cameras going up. Great. Thank you guys for turning on your cameras.
No problem.
Alright, let me put this on.
Oh.
1 second. Okay. So hello all. Thanks for being here. We got Benja B, Flo Trace, and Wine Mom. Hello, hi. Okay. So yeah, what's your oh, Kamikaze, you playing Elden Ring? I'm not far enough to deal with Godric yet, but like I'm not far enough yet. I'm still like leveling up. But shout out to you, Kamikaze. All right. Okay, so yeah, White Rice, you're saying there's literally no reason why Russia would target the nuclear power plants, like I said previously, right? Like I said at the start of this. However, accidents happen in a war zone, so obviously that could be a problem. Hello, hi, hey, who are these new people? Okay, I'm really excited. New faces, love to see it. All right, so we have Appalachia, who looks familiar.
Hey, how's it going?
Why did you change your name?
Oh, I misspoke saying my name once, so now it's stuck.
Okay, great.
Oh.
All right. Well,
best origin story.
Yeah. Thank you, Benja B, for being here. Thank you, Eclipse. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Yes, Doobie told me I should join.
Okay, great.
So.
Well, yeah, shout out to my man Doobie. Nice to meet you. Okay. Next, who else we got? We have Flo Trace. Hello, hi. And Gerthard. Also nice to meet you too. Hello.
Nice to meet you, Prime. I've seen you on a lot of things lurked.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, we're happy that you stopped in. And we have the Turk. Turk, you're not wearing your camouflage. I can see you. God, hide your shame, Turk. All right, like.
I want you to see me in my natural bald self with my like precancerous little bulb that I've got going on right here. Right?
Oh well,
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah, I hope it's okay. But thank you.
It hasn't moved.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that you're healthy, buddy. Oh, and Hyper Troll is here. Hello, hi. Nice to have you here as well. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm really happy that you're here. So, everyone, what are your thoughts on on the safety of these power plants? Right? Do you think this is a significant danger? After reading that article here. Oh, yes. Okay. What are your thoughts?
As a Russian, also the personality is generally like we are known to be like aggressive, forward, really direct, right? And that definitely leads to a lot of problems. I can imagine that somebody in charge is going to do something a little bit too aggressive and stupid because, like you said, a lot of these people would probably be professionals and keep the power plants intact, not for Russia, but for the Ukrainian people there, right? For their families and everything. But if they're being kept hostage, which they probably are, right? And that kind of like I don't want to get off topic on that because I'm upset at like Putin. I don't like Putin, obviously, but okay. So I believe that something's probably going to accidentally happen. Like something's not going to be managed properly. I know Russia probably has experts. Did they really prepare for like this type of stuff? And is it going to be exactly the same for them? Right? So I don't think every power plant is built the same way. So just because you're an expert in one area, you might not be an expert in the Ukrainian power plants, right? So I believe that there is going to probably be something unexpected, and unfortunately with nuclear stuff, that affects everybody.
So there are definitely different generations of nuclear power plants that are online, and depending on where Ukraine's power plant designs are, they could be Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4, maybe. It all really depends on just how far they have advanced.
Right.
So, yeah.
Are any of those... Have there been any new power plants built in Ukraine since the fall of the Soviet Union?
So the article said, noted that the Ukraine's nuclear power plants are Russian or Soviet design and similar to ones that still operate in Russia. That's what the article says. Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be any meaningful difference between the two countries when it comes to the operation of those plants.
But the question then is when, right? Because Chernobyl was an old, bad design of a nuclear power plant, whereas Russia could be using Gen 2, Gen 3 designs that are relatively safe in their design. So it's like, I don't want to fearmonger. I want to be accurate in what we're talking about. And it's like, which one is it? We can't tell by this one document that we looked at.
Yeah. And something could accidentally, quote unquote, go wrong. When you're dealing with politics, accidents with quotation marks can happen, right? So that's not... that's what concerns me.
Accidents on older generations definitely could apply, but as we've learned and as the technology's improved, the human element of an accident decreases and it becomes the design's element of
I'm saying
where
that
it
I
fails.
believe that something could be sabotaged by that, is what I'm saying. So they could be sabotaged for political means or something. So because I believe America should have stopped this before the power plants. You know, America, NATO should have stopped this way before they even invaded, right? Send troops, even though it costs money. Because Putin's crazy. So I believe that what might happen is there's going to be a nuclear accident, and that's going to keep people from going in there. That's my concern, because Putin states that, you know, these people are, in essence, these Slavs are also Russian, and that to some historical part is correct. So that's my concern, is even though he says this, he's killing 10 than his own people. So like it doesn't make sense. And if he's already willing to do crazy stuff like that, then he's probably going to continue to do so on all this other crazy stuff.
I think it's really sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just really quick to clarify on the ages and the generations, because I know that was something we were talking about. Yeah, it would seem that there are nuclear plants that have gone live since the fall of the Cold War, but they are the same type. So you seem to know a lot more about the generation.
Right.
These are VVER V320s, and so those are the new ones that have come online, but they have existed in with that same model number since before the fall of the Soviet Union. I'm having a hard time finding out which generation that is, but that does at least say that they were around in a capacity that they could have equals in Russia.
I think there are two really important things to keep in mind. The first is that it doesn't take a lot for mistakes and things to go wrong, particularly in a very chaotic environment like a war environment. Nuclear reactors are very obviously very complex things that require a lot of proactive effort to keep going. It's not it's not a matter of will something go wrong? It's a matter of preventing things from going wrong actively. And obviously, when you introduce a invasion into the country, that is going to introduce significant problems. There's the possibility of losing power, of losing supplies, of losing personnel, and there are contingencies for these things. But I think it's definitely fair to be incredibly concerned about these kinds of things. The other thing I think that it's important to note is that something going wrong with these nuclear power plants doesn't necessarily need to be some sort of nuclear scenario, some end game, although it very well could be. There are a lot of other things that can go wrong. Ukraine heavily relies on nuclear power. I think it's like as of 2005, 50% of their power was generated by nuclear. They have the biggest nuclear plant in Europe. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong just purely from a humanitarian perspective for Ukraine if these plants were to go offline, which then in of itself sort of introduces a very legitimate reason why Russia might seek to try and bring these offline or at least hamper them in some way. So I think that it's important to recognize that, it wouldn't require some maniacal plan to, cause a nuclear detonation across Ukraine for Russia to start eyeing up these plants as potentially valid military targets.
Well, I don't think I don't think anyone's going to be they're not going to be viable military targets.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the issue is.
Yeah, and I'm not going to buy it, but the argument that was put out at the Security Council today from Russia regarding Chernobyl was that they wanted to prevent a dirty bomb being made by Ukraine, which is probably a bit humorous, I guess. But
Ukraine might still have some nukes left, to be honest. They're just not probably telling. So
the bigger security threat is if a half of a nation's electric supply is from a handful of nuclear reactors. If y'all have played Rainbow Six, like pre-Rainbow Six Siege, I'm dating myself. You take any of those out, you're impacting a large percentage of that baseline power output. So if you're going to go ahead and kill that amount of power going to a nation, that's a huge amount of, strategic benefit that you have.
Yeah, we should absolutely check if Putin's military plans have played Rainbow Six. Okay, we'll put the bat signal out there.
It's a great.
Does anyone have his username?
It's a great background, man. Rainbow Six, like the OG, is all about the tactical stuff, man.
Okay. All right. Well, look. So before I jump in, I want to see if our two other guests have anything they want to add quickly. Right. Abolition. Fuck. Whatever you want to call yourself. And if Eclipse might have something they want to say.
I mean, personally, I'm on the boat where I don't think the nuclear power plants are necessarily going to be specifically targeted either to hamper the energy sector of Ukraine, because that would absolutely make it easier to invade, or for to prevent Ukraine from making a dirty bomb, because I don't think that's true either. I'm more concerned that if some magical reason Russia happens to lose the war or not get the parts of Ukraine that they want, then maybe they would take that route to actually target the nuclear power plants. Just because, I don't know, they want Ukraine. They want all that shit. They want the fucking land, the resources. They want to be able to control the people to an extent.
The wheat. They want the wheat, to be honest.
Yeah, the breadbasket. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's not that fine, but that's how. Yeah, that is what it is, right? My take is I think maybe this is another thing that we can overreact to kind of distract us from the fact that the rest of the war is happening.
I agree.
Yeah.
It is a serious thing, and I think it's more of a political leverage type of thing that I wouldn't put it past Putin of causing a disaster purposely, accidentally. So that would be the scenario that I would only be concerned about with this, as where he would purposely cause the scenario now that he has the ability to do so if now intervention is brought in. So now he's guaranteeing that it's going to be much harder for the UK, France, or America to come in easily, where they had that option previously.
I mean, they've already been saying that they're gonna if you get involved and attack Russia, then Russia will nuke you. So I think relying on nuclear power plants as a deterrent is a little far fetched for me to believe.
I was it actually the nukes, or he kind of implied that we will reply with, damage that you've never seen before. I think that was like close.
The meeting with Macron, he said nukes are on the table.
So this is me being a gamer at heart, right? So Ukraine has access to nuclear power, right? They have sites that can enrich uranium. Would it benefit the Russians that are invading to destroy or tamper with these potential resources, or either enriched resources for additional bombs, or maintaining the functioning landmass that they're about to conquer, given reports and stuff that's going on? To me, it sounds like don't even mess with these power plants because they're providing power to what we're about to take over. It doesn't seem like a far-fetched strategic stance there.
Yeah,
Yes,
I find it really unlikely that they're going to target even the power grid in that sense. I think you make a good
Correct.
point that if they're going to try and if they're trying to do this in an occupying way, then they need certain amounts of the infrastructure to be maintained.
But on retreat, that's a different point.
Before,
If
hold on.
they
I do want to
retreat,
see
yes.
if Eclipse has anything to say. Eclipse? No, not yet. That's cool. Don't worry about it.
I
No,
play
I'm
Civ
just there to,
5, guys. I'm a pro
You-
when it comes to this kind of discourse.
I'm
Come
sure.
on.
I'm sure you are.
But did you play Rainbow Six Black Sparrow?
No, I did not play that.
Oh well. Okay. What kind of pro? What
You
kind
didn't even
of
play
pro?
the expansion of the first game.
Oh
how
my
are you-
gosh.
I specifically said
You're a
Civ
fucking
5.
fraud. You're a
I said
fraud.
Civ 5.
Okay. Anyway.
All right, Civ 5.
Okay.
Civ
all right.
5.
Okay. So focusing on this. So I don't think either that they'll target them. Well, and as I said at the start of this, it's that's unlikely. Like, why would you want to risk a disaster? However, this is war, right? Like I said previously, they know not to shoot their own troops, but troops die all the time from friendly fire. Accidents happen, right? Like, you are launching cruise missiles at various targets, right? You got tanks firing, you got people firing back. It could be something could happen, and I think that's the thing to be more worried about.
I think it's also. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay, thank you. I was just going to say, I think it's also worth noting that certainly Putin isn't an entirely irrational actor, but I don't think it is a good idea to assume that he is an entirely rational actor either. I think oftentimes when we think about states in this sort of context, we assume that they are these like hyper logic rational things. But I mean, if you look throughout history, even recent history, there's a lot of dumb decisions that leaders make, and particularly in a country like Russia, where it is effectively a dictatorship and there's a huge incentive to just say yes to whatever Putin thinks puts out. I think we really ought to. It would be a good idea for us to seriously consider the idea that Putin could make very flawed decisions that in hindsight, you wonder, what in God's name were you thinking?
Or they're not mistakes, but they're provocative for more than one reason. So, like, for example, if he's threatening to use nukes now, what would prevent him from using that threat later? So the point that I would say is it's much more important to beat him out of Ukraine regardless of what his stance is, because he's going to then use nukes regardless. Whenever you state that you're going to use them at one point, that's like stating you're going to use them going forward. So that scare tactic is effective, right? So I would say that it's important to kick him out regardless if he sets off a nuke. If he sets off a nuke, the only closest friend that he would have would probably be China, because China wants to do their own stuff right now, right?
Sorry, it sets off a nuke? I mean, what?
Yeah.
Like, you mean like
If
a
he
nuclear bomb?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Russia has nukes, right? Ukraine used to have the third most.
Timeout.
Weapon is not on the table.
Why
Can
would
I
you?
call a timeout on this one?
Yeah, please, someone.
Yeah, if a nuclear weapon is detonated in anyone's airspace, ground, whatever, Prime, I love you. I disagree with you a lot of times, but like, we're not going to be worrying about Prime getting subs to pay for his,
Bomb
rent.
Absolutely.
There's going to be
All
some
this
bigger
is
problems to
meaningless if
talk
that
about.
happens.
Yeah,
Even
I'm
in
saying that
a
I
nuclear
wouldn't worry about
apocalypse, I
that
need
threat.
fucking money. Sub to the goddamn channel. All right, moving on. Sorry, go ahead.
He's now accepting bottle caps.
No, accepting
I'm
bottle
saying I would
caps.
ignore
There you
the
go.
threat from him regardless and just push him out of Ukraine. That's what I'm saying. Because if somebody makes that threat, I wouldn't trust them already anyway.
So if there was going to be a successful campaign to push Russia out of Kiev and to push them out of Ukraine as a whole, that's going to require external pressure from multiple countries, maybe even including the United States, because
Definitely.
Ukraine cannot do that by themselves.
No, they can't. They have a good sized population against Russian population. It's only like 44 million versus about 120. So it's not a huge population difference, right? And fighting on land, turf, and urban areas, Ukraine should be able to withhold more. So,
It's also a matter of what that pressure looks like. I mean, arguably, the United States and many of the European countries are already putting immense pressure on Russia. I don't think that it is necessary. I don't think the kind of pressure that would be required for Ukraine to theoretically win would necessarily need to go all the way to the level of like boots on the ground.
I do. 100%.
We're already at that level, right? Because Russia is already amassing people on the border. They're already sending air assets into the conflict zone. There's bombs, all these other reports. It's like the next thing requires an equal or opposite reaction to counter what Russia's already put on the table.
Correct. Somebody needs to strike their strategic points at this point to show that you're doing it to somebody, we're going to do it to you. And if that doesn't happen, that's like a go sign. There's nothing to be afraid of to push forward at that point.
But we can all.
I don't think that's.
Go ahead. No, you guys go first.
Sanctions aren't good, is my
I'm
point.
telling you, I've played Civ 5. I'm a pro.
Oh my god.
I'm good to go.
Dalai Lama,
It's
maybe.
not even the best
okay?
Civ.
I fucking hate armchair generals.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So like
need to play Hearts of
we can
Iron
all
4.
understand that nuclear, like, we're not talking about like an actual nuclear detonation, right? That what we're not discussing is nuclear warfare.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm
I
saying
think
I don't
we've
think he's
stepped
gonna.
back from
I
the
don't think he's
nuclear
ever
part.
gonna use that
Okay.
because that would be stupid, and
Of
he'd
course
have
not.
everybody hating him at that point, right?
Okay.
But since he made that threat, that would make me want to push him even faster. Like that would make me want to invade and push Russia out of Ukraine and possibly take some assets from them, showing them if you do this, you're going to have to sign a treaty where you lose land to more progressive people who aren't just conquering people.
But is Ukraine doing that, or is that another factor that has not entered the playing field at this point?
Ukraine has stated that they will defend, but they will not push.
Okay. So
So it's the latter.
Dr. K, do you want to add anything? And then I'm going to try to move this conversation along.
Yeah, this kind of rhetoric is a great way to get a lot of people fucking glassed. Like, this is, I don't know, man. Yeah, you want to repel them out of the country, but you don't want to push into their stuff because then it becomes an offensive war, and the sort of rules and general procedures around what's going on there shift in such a way that stuff can get very, very fucking messy. You don't want an offensive war. Fuck. I mean, I'm of the mind that you should consider the two, like, breakaway provinces essentially lost. Let Russia have it, and just keep the rest of NATO, or keep the rest of Ukraine, and integrate it as close to the U.S. as possible.
I mean, the problem with that is like part of Russia's rhetoric right now is that they're invading Ukraine to help Ukrainians achieve self-determination, which is bullshit. But so like the thing that they're just gonna let Ukraine keep half of Ukraine is kind of like
that
also
may
bullshit.
be the rhetoric, but is that actually the strategic goal? I don't think so.
I mean,
So, Dr. K, I appreciate your input. They had those two provinces 3 days ago, 2 days ago, where
Yes.
you could argue that yes, Russia might have credentials on this particular land. They could send whoever they want. Those two particular spots, they could be completely gone. I don't disagree with you at all. But they're like attacking Kiev, the capital of Ukraine.
Yes,
pushing
I'm
further.
I'm trying to think what would end this shit the fastest.
I don't think at this point you could say, "Hey, you can have the Donbass," and he would leave. We're at a
No,
point now where he's
they-
going for full-on
they already
regime
have it.
change.
They already
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
Not just regime change,
well,
they're
they-
incorporating it at this point.
Dude,
No, yeah,
do-
they are
we know that?
Russian states that are favoring the Russian mindset. There's probably better words to articulate that, but they are like Russian. They favor the Russian mindset and what they're going for, but they are their own people. They're their own country. They're independent nations.
So
I
this
think
feels like a
if I-
civil war to Russians right now, a little bit. This is what it feels like to Russians.
does
a
it?
little bit. Yes. A
No.
little bit.
I
Yes,
mean-
as a Russian, to me, it definitely feels a little bit like a civil war. You're telling my people to kill people that are ancestrally my people as well, who helped found Russia. Like because
Outside
Ukraine
of those
over-
two regions, yes, but in those two regions that have already been practically lost, they sympathize
mean
with
overall.
Russian feelings. They have been accepted by the Russian caliphate, if you want to use that term.
Don't use
Russian
that.
caliphate?
I don't.
Hey, I
don't
mean, he's
Listen,
calling
Zerk,
Zelensky's
I
government
get,
the junta.
I get like Islamophobia is like part of your bit, but like you don't need to do it
It's
now.
not, dude.
I think it's
Then
definitely
don't do
fair.
that.
I definitely think it's fair to say that there are most certainly incredibly deep ties between Ukraine and Russia that could certainly contribute to making this feel a lot closer to a civil war than a conflict, let's say, between like China and America. There's
Yeah,
no
but it's
doubt
not
that
as-
there is a lot of.
And that's
Yes.
why we worry that'll happen to Estonia, to Latvia, and to possibly even Poland. Because if NATO didn't step into somebody who wanted to be a member, then those members are not going to feel comfortable either at this point.
That's why America was sending troops to NATO's border. But it's also
Yeah.
like Finland and Sweden, like Russia told Finland and Sweden, it's like if you join NATO, then there's going to be problems. They didn't specify what the problems were going to be, but it's like I honestly think this is going to push more countries that were thinking about joining NATO into becoming full member states.
I don't think Finland and Sweden are going to join NATO.
They're already
Even
protected by
with this.
NATO.
Exactly, they don't need to.
Okay, so I wanted to maybe dovetail off of this and talk about Biden's performance. And our new friend here, Gert, right, suggested that Biden should have invaded Ukraine and directly confronted the Russian troops.
Well, not invaded Ukraine, but
Well, no. Well, then how would they confront the Russian troops?
Struck back.
I don't want to use the word invade Ukraine because I would say that they would be doing what Ukraine would have been requesting at the
Counter,
time.
Okay,
we should
sure,
say.
sure. Okay, station them in Ukraine for fighting with guns. Okay. So, I'm wondering, like, what do you all think in terms of aggression, right? Like, do you think that the U.S. should be displaying more aggression? Do you think Biden is displaying weakness? And will that come back to bite us?
No.
Yeah.
No and yes.
I want all
in
your
different
thoughts
ways.
on this. I want you to think of this one in the foreign policy sense, but two, like how it plays domestically in terms of like politics. Like, would it be better, right, for optics if Biden were to do that? Would you like a strong president, right? Does that, and by strong, that typically in America means like they bombed the country, right? Would you think that would make him more attractive to voters? Because right now he's in the shitter in terms of his approval ratings, right? So like you can look at all those points. Go ahead. Anyone?
I think regardless of no, go ahead. All I'm going to say is like regardless of how Biden's doing, right? He's already made the decisions that I'm not going to say enabled the situation, although I probably should. But his decisions kind of contributed to where we got. But I don't think America should honestly go in. I think this is honestly Europe's back door. If Germany, if France, if UK, God, if the Netherlands and Belgium actually gave a shit, they'd fucking do something about it other than send a bunch of helmets. But they're not. So why should the United States like go in and perpetuate our global homogeny, or like let people actually use us as like a world police force when the criticism is exactly that we act like a world police force?
Because you already are, so why not do it, right?
That I caution extremely against any absolutist rhetoric here. This is an unbelievably delicate situation, and using absolutist language, and should a politician act in an absolutist way, that would get people killed. I really recommend against, needless, like kill 'em all type rhetoric.
Yes.
Eclipse, are you from the States? I don't know.
I'm from California. I was looking at the comments. Someone, I do agree with someone in the comments that Joe Biden, he doesn't know what he's saying. He's what, 80 years old, like.
Does.
And I'm just afraid that what he might say will affect the country, because he shouldn't. He doesn't know what he's saying. If you
are we really going into the Joe Biden is senile argument already? Oh my god.
I actually think if you look at Joe Biden's speeches on like
Eclipse,
okay, but mostly I'm in here to just like listen. I'm only 19. I don't know a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I'm here to listen and learn. But like, if you call on me, I will tell you what I think about the president, if that's what you asked. And I think that I don't support him. And yeah, sometimes he does say crazy shit. He does. And yeah. No, I don't think we need a stronger president who actually knows what they're saying.
Well, we definitely do want to hear what you think. So yeah, thank you for sharing your thoughts there.
You're welcome.
You're going to have a reaction now. Let's have the Turk, and then I'm sure Dr. K has something to say, or anyone else can join too, but Turk first.
Yeah, so as a 19-year-old, I, as a male, actually had to sign into the Selective Service Agreement. With what's going on right now, and what you understand what's going on right now, would you be willing to be accepted into the draft or to go and fight in defense of our allies, the Ukrainians?
Me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, if it does come down to it, yes, I will. I mean, it's my country. I love America. At the end of the day, I'm proud to be an American.
But you're willing.
Are you proud to be a
and
Ukrainian?
I'm willing to fight for my country if I have to.
But your country has like zero practical application into this conflict, right? I'm not trying to.
You asked if I'm willing to go into war. Yes, no, that's your answer.
I appreciate the answer. I'm trying to put it into context and to expand upon it to the larger audience. As a former person that wanted to be in the armed forces, I didn't go that way because I decided to make money and be a capitalist. Boo, hiss, Turk, bad guy.
Just get on with it.
Oh, anyways, Dr. K, knock it off. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is, it's like I can appreciate a young person that is willing. Again, I don't know what you understand of the situation, because that's for you to decide, but you are willing to offer your services to our country. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. So, and I guess that's up for the panel to sway one side or the other.
Admirable. That's my word there. That's it.
Are you a little bit drunk,
So
Turk?
is that all you? Is that what you had to say?
I have drank a few, yes, but I am not CTV drunk. No.
I don't. Were you just? What was your point there? Were you just trying to clarify, or?
It was a point of clarification, as well as like a.
Well, you got your answer.
A going to the next point of the larger option of what should the U.S. be obligated to do in this instance? Right? Should we be offering your services in defense of Ukraine? There are definitely people that would say, no, we shouldn't be offering people like you to this particular military exercise.
People like me?
Yes,
Correct.
young people that are potentially adequate for the draft. It's not like meant to be a derogatory term. It's like young Americans going towards this. I mean,
I feel like we're like a few
I
like
don't
steps
understand what you're
away
saying
from
by
what we were
that.
meant to talk
A
about.
young American. I'm still old enough to vote.
yes,
I don't
but
think he meant it offensively, right?
Okay. So I
No,
just
I just feel like
Yeah,
I just
we're-
feel like
there's no offense here. Like,
Okay,
if I am no
do you
longer
mean, you
acceptable
people?
for the draft. I'm no longer acceptable for the
because he's an
draft.
old fuck. Yeah. All right. Look, Turk has had a few drinks in him, and he's not being his usual,
Whatever.
completely articulate stuff. No, I love you, Turk. No, Turk, you're cool. You're cool. You're cool. I'm just trying to work this out. All right, we're done. Moving on. Does
oh
anyone?
yeah, people are in the comments are saying that he's grilling me, which he is. I feel like he is. And I'm actually
I'm
listening
not grilling
to the people.
you
I'm
specifically.
actually listening to the
What
people
I'm
and
trying
what
to
you
get
have
to
to
is the
say.
next conversation from America's perspective. What is our stake in the game? Do we have a stake in the fight? Is this Ukraine's problem? Is it the UN's problem? Is it NATO's problem?
It's the UN's
I
problem.
don't want to send you to the front if I don't have to send you to the front.
But I'm willing to if we have to.
And that's the
if
input
he-
Okay,
towards
yeah.
the
So
further
the question
discussion.
is, do we have to?
Yeah. The question is, do we have to? Yeah. What do you
Okay.
think?
See, I'm not
Yeah.
that drunk,
Yeah.
dude.
Eclipse. What do you think? Well, we'll get that answer from you, and we'll move on.
on. I don't know. That's why I'm in here to like learn and like to see which side I'm more on. But
Okay.
at the end of the day, if we have to, and our president does decide to go in and he needs to draft people, then yes,
Okay.
I'm willing to go in.
All right. Flow Trace, you had your all up. What the fuck?
Yeah, thank you. Chinchilla gave me the inspiration. All right. I think that it is a very bad idea to, as of present, to send American troops into Ukraine. I think we sort of have to concede that this is in Russia's back door, and that sending American troops there is a way too big of an escalation, and would certainly drastically increases the likelihood that there is some sort of nuclear conflict, which is, I think, like the worst case scenario. I think that we sort of have to give up the ball that we can be assisting indirectly, but a direct intervention to Ukraine seems like it just has the potential for disaster, the likes of which we shouldn't tolerate as a risk. I think that if we want to help Ukraine right now, we should continue supplying them arms. I think we should really be pushing to try and get our European allies on board for getting SWIFT out. But I think the fundamental big problem right now is that as adversarial as the relationship between the West and Russia is, there are deep integrations that mean that countries like Germany and Italy in particular have deep reservations about inflicting economic harm onto Russia because they would suffer some fallout as a result. And that's the main place we need to be working on, trying to get our European allies on board with kicking Russia out of SWIFT and doing more severe sanctions, because I do think that these do have a noticeable and quite significant effect on Russia's ability and willingness to make war.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, let me go on really quick. The world where this becomes a situation where the US gets involved with troops is one where Putin has like expanded this war into another country. The US is not going to get involved with its own military into Ukraine. It really is that red line that you cannot cross. Never have we seen, realistically, two actual nuclear armed superpowers go against each other in a military situation. Proxy wars are one thing. Actual Americans killing Russians and Russians killing Americans is a completely different one. In order for that to actually happen, I do not believe any US president outside of maybe Trump, who knows, would ever make that first step. That's going to be something that they were going to put onto Putin and make him do that. So who knows? But it's just not a it's just not a thing that's going to happen. No American president's going to do it. when you start dealing with nuclear war, you get past the, you can be a tough guy with the countries you can beat the crap out of. But when you can both kill each other, you have to be a smart fighter, not just a braggadocious one.
My main man, Wick. He's
I
appeared.
didn't want to come on.
Nick.
Oh,
I
he
didn't
wanted
wanna
to.
come on.
He wanted
But I
to.
have to come on.
Yeah, you hear like
I
every
have
goddamn
to.
night. Oh, I don't want to come on.
I keep wanting to give your viewers a break. Boshi's gonna have an aneurysm if I keep just coming on. So okay, let's be clear. So there's a lot of things that's happened recently that has led me to believe that we may be doing something more than just sanctions soon. NATO recently has, for the first time I think in history, brought up its emergency response force. NATO has called up its emergency response force. Again, we can make some inferences from that, but we don't know what they are planning to do with them. Are they planning the common thought seems to be that they are going to the NATO member nations that border Ukraine just to kind of make sure things don't get out of control. We've set up a no-fly zone all the way like surrounding Ukraine. So if a Russian tries to go past the Ukraine border, they're going to get shot the fuck down. Kiev is currently being surrounded by Russian forces. And the fact that Zelensky has been very, very angry at the US and NATO and the EU these past few days. But suddenly, after a 40-minute call with Biden, he's now not so angry anymore. He's a lot more happy. So, again, this is speculation. You should never take what someone on Twitch says as gospel truth here. But my speculation is here that it's going to turn into a situation where we have a chance to do escorted airlifts to get civilians out of Kiev. That the NATO can and will do an escorted, like we did in the evac of Berlin, back when Berlin fell, and we split it up with the Soviet Union, and between Soviet Union and the NATO forces, we split it up, and we evacuated a bunch of people from East Berlin to West Berlin. We did a transport drops. I think that there is a possibility, and I think that it would be a good thing because it gives us a humanitarian excuse to go in and to help these people and to bring civilian aid, humanitarian aid to this thing. So I think that also we should definitely take a look at the possibility of military intervention as well, not boots on the ground, but simply the NATO response force. They have every ability to do this, picks a Russian unit, wipes it off the face of this earth, wipes it out of existence, and says, Putin, unless you withdraw, we will continue to do so. There's high risks to that, but in this case, I think he will withdraw. I think that he will pull his he does not want a war. He does not want a nuclear war here. He wants to get out.
Okay, but
if we can provide him a way to get out without losing an entire face, I think we should.
So one thing I have a problem
Can I just clarify the no?
An abolition, mute yourself
no-fly
because we can hear
zone
you typing. But sure, yeah, you can do that. Go ahead, do that first.
Sorry, it'd be really quick. It's a commercial no-fly zone. This is not a military thing. We're not saying if Russian jets leave Ukraine's that's not the situation. It's an FAA no-fly zone regarding commercial flights. So at the very least, what you're saying isn't the case yet. People have talked about it today, but it has essentially been ruled out, I believe.
So one thing that I have a problem is that everyone assumes that if we get into a hot conflict with Russia, right? Well, that equals nuclear war, right? That if we start bodies start dropping on either side, right? Well, I guess we just have to hit the nuke button, right? There's no other choice. Bring out the nuclear football. I have to do it now. No, that's actually not the case, especially if the war isn't on Russian territory. It's not like if we do get in a battle with Russia, not like they're fighting for their existence, right? That they're about to be wiped off, or that Putin will be overthrown, right? It's just that this is a battlefield, the battlefield being Ukraine, right? And the point is to push them out. So that doesn't mean that either side has to employ a nuke, right?
It
Exactly.
doesn't, but
Right,
I think
I
the
agree
chances
with you, but
dramatically increased.
Yeah,
Sure.
if there's like a small percent chance, like 5%, or probably less, if there's any chance that there's like a nuclear winter ending where we're all dead, I think we'd want to try to avoid that at all cost,
I mean,
no matter
Also-
how small the percentage is.
So my pushback against that is that unless Putin pays a price here that he considers to hurt him, like because sanctions have had not as good of an effect as we would have wanted. We tried to avoid this situation with sanctions, we didn't. So unless he pays a price, he's going to keep doing it. We're just kicking the can down the road because I understand the risks involved are very, very high when you talk about nuclear war. But and I would never advocate we go into Russian territory at all, any way, shape, or form. But we could talk about the certainty that will happen if we don't do anything. The certainty is that Putin will, at some point, pull this shit again. And
Correct.
that it will continue to happen until he is made to pay a price that he feels he cannot bear. What that price is, we can
that
discuss.
presumes he's successful.
From what I've seen, there's every indication right now he's going to be successful in taking Ukraine. Unfortunately, he's not going to take it without losses.
Nazis were going to take Russia in when they started Operation Barbarossa. I understand. Like at first, like with offensive military maneuvers, oftentimes what will happen is you will see a big push within the first period of the operation, and generally it slows down over time till eventually they get to the maximum extension of their forces, in which then you will begin to see turnaround. Like that's how military invasion shit works.
We know Zelensky.
That's a long time ago. That's not how it works.
Yeah, we know Zelensky is in Kiev right now. We know he is in Kiev right now. We also know that the Russian military right now is in the streets of Kiev fighting. There's explosions. There's troops on the ground. They're fighting. If the Russians can take out Zelensky, they can do a lot. They have their options open up immensely for things that are considered win conditions for them. Maybe not the win conditions they want, but taking out Zelensky would be huge for them.
What are win conditions?
So win conditions, for example. Putin wants certain things from Ukraine. He wants the resources. He wants access to the Black Sea. He wants the ability to keep them out of NATO. He wants a lot of these things. There's a lot of different things that he wants from this that he thinks he can get. Now, if he can take out Zelensky and install a puppet government, for example, there are problems with that. I don't think that the Ukrainian people would stand for it. I think the Ukrainian people would resist too much to make that a viable option, but it is an option he may see as one that would allow him to have access to these places in a way that he feels fine with.
How much do the Ukrainian people have to resist?
Insurgencies are a problem for modern militaries. I mean, we've seen this in a lot of different places, Afghanistan, Iraq.
Right, but at
Vietnam.
what point in the current climate of this specific situation does Russia say, hold up, Ukraine doesn't like this, we're going to step back and not do what we're doing right now?
They don't. I don't think there's a spot.
Exactly. So
that's why I think that, again, eliminating Zelensky would open up some win conditions, as I said.
No.
And you don't think so? You don't think?
No, I can't explain this because it's basically like when it comes to Ukraine, it's like more or less it's like a democratic nation overall. So their win condition is just taking over Ukraine overall. It doesn't depend on the fucking prime minister whatsoever fucking ever.
But you do realize that they can control a nation.
They can control a nation by just taking it over and just install a puppet regime. It doesn't has to do with Zelensky. This is like
doesn't have to install a puppet. He can just take it over too.
This is like
true, but it's easier.
You are talking from the perspective of basically saying like grand people politics. You're thinking that all these people within Europe are some sort of you have like Putin and you have like Zelensky and you have like Lukashenko and these people are just this is a personalism. You shouldn't talking about that. You shouldn't be doing that because of the fact that when Putin is gone within like 20 years or so, like should we forget like Russia overall when it comes to like all the atrocities they did in Georgia, or when it comes to like fucking Ukraine, just because it was just Putin? No, it's different, you know.
Okay, when I say Putin, that's shorthand for the Russian government. So if
Yeah,
you
but
would just rather say the Russian
personalizing
government,
things.
Yeah,
that's
the
okay.
Russian
Personalizing
government
things.
is not a monolith, though.
I understand, but the Putin has a lot of control over there. Would we disagree? I think that he has.
Would you say the same for Zelensky?
The oligarchs
Would you say the
in
same for
Russia have
Zelensky?
every incentive.
Because that's what
Putin
you
has
are
shown-
kind of doing.
Putin has shown that he is willing to eliminate his political enemies with poison, pushing out of the roofs, and assassination. Do we disagree? Putin has done this.
Are you saying that it's the same for Zelensky?
No,
Because-
I'm saying that he can kill Zelensky. He wants to kill Zelensky and put in a puppet government.
He
But
probably
I
doesn't
don't
care
think-
about killing Zelensky, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah,
The issue here
exactly.
isn't about
Set
killing
up
him.
Exactly. you have to
Zelensky's
set
not
up
the
whole
goal. Ukraine
institutions.
is.
I understand, but you understand that to get to the goal, there are milestones to get to that goal.
Zelensky-
How do you excel of it?
Maybe you're
One
thinking
by
too
one.
much like a
If you-
gamer. I'm a gamer too, man.
What are
but
you talking about? This
in
is a gamer.
case,
This
like,
is
you
power
don't have
politics.
to. No, you don't.
You don't have. Oh my god!
This-
Of course he doesn't have to.
Putin
there
doesn't
are
care
other
about
options
the
he
politics.
has.
Like,
There are
let's
other
put it
options
this way:
he has.
one side is thinking about the politics, the other side isn't thinking about the politics.
Third
That
Hard plays Total War, man.
I
Not
I
Civ
play
5.
Hearts of Iron, but
Okay.
I play League of
understand
Legends.
I'm sorry.
There you go, winner. All right.
League of Legends.
So-
but again, you guys are acting like I'm saying that this is the only way that they would. No, of
no,
course
no,
not.
no,
There
no.
are
I'm
other
not
ways.
saying that. You're giving methods and you're giving a line of like reasoning, and I get that you're giving those lines of reasoning, but to somebody like Putin and the Russian government, which I will agree with you that a lot of the Russian government, like 90% of it is corrupt down to the cops, right? So it's the problem is that it doesn't matter if Putin disappears either, right? Because someone else will take the place that's in the same type of agenda as him as well, right?
Are
So
you
all
sure
that's
about
gonna-
that though?
Yes, unfortunately, one of the best chances for Russia to rise up is currently happening right now if other forces stepped in to pressure them, because Russians
Who
themselves do not
fills
like this.
Who fills the power vacuum if the Russian president leaves?
There's a chance.
Some
he
other
might-
guy who is former
Oh,
KGB.
when it
This-
comes,
I forget
no,
her
no,
name,
no.
but there have been discussions of like who is the quote-unquote line of succession for Putin.
When it comes to Russia, it's like really complicated, and we don't know who would fit that power vacuum because
It
of
could
the
be
fact
better,
that
it could be
fucking
worse.
Russia. When it comes to Russia is like
an enormous
it's like basically dealing out like deals to like oligarchs and that kind of shit. So
Yes,
the
correct.
next person that's comes into line, it's gotta adhere to that system, or otherwise, like Russia would have a problem. When it comes to Ukraine, it's totally different. You know, we cannot compare these countries and say like, oh, that's just like it's like the US is not like Russia. You know, the Netherlands is not like Russia. So we cannot compare these countries overall. This is like fucking cringe.
What do you think I'm saying?
Ukraine had a lifestyle like America, like in a lot of areas. They experienced the same type of lifestyle Americans did, while a lot of Russians do not experience that lifestyle. So you're talking about people who had a lot more rights, right? They're very, in the sense, like feeling democratic like you do, your type of freedom, right? A lot of them. There are those places that unfortunately Ukraine did not take care of, such as well as they could have, like Crimea, right? Specifically more Crimea than the other two, first of all. But because there was a higher, I don't know if it's true if it's a higher ethnic Russian portion or not. That part I don't really completely agree with, because obviously
doesn't fucking
Russians
matter.
are... Yeah, because Russians are pissed about Ukraine as well, right? Because it doesn't matter too much, because as, you know, Slavs and so forth, it affects us in the sense of you're killing, because a lot of Russians have family from Ukraine as well, right?
Sorry.
There's a lot of Russians that are like that. So there's a lot of Russians who are worried about that situation, and if America was willing to step in, the part that we would have wanted is that would actually have given chance to those other political opponents of Putin who are staying undercover. So that would give a better chance for Russians to do something. Because right now, the Russian military, a lot of it is busy. And that doesn't happen very often in Russia. So this is the one good opportunity for Russia to have a chance at something else.
So the problem with that is if we do something in Russia, then Putin, the nuke chance goes way higher.
But he nukes himself first, at least. So that would
No.
if
be
he's
dumb.
going to die anyway, I don't know. I don't know if he'd.
That's not the way that the nuclear situation happens, dude.
Yes,
Usually
and-
no. It's more than one person usually in charge. Yes, but
So I would-
No.
I don't think that would happen either way. To be honest, I know some people are afraid of a 1% or 5%, but honestly, you have to take it before it becomes a 10 or 20 or 30%.
I don't disagree with
What?
you on that. I just think that the best way we have a chance right now, the best chance we're going to have to intervene in Ukraine. And I think that normally I am against intervention, but in this case, it's pretty clear who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. So
You
I
we
wanna
agree
need-
that they
hot
should do
war.
strikes, airstrikes
Bro.
to stop them and get them to withdraw. I agree with you there, by the way.
yes,
You
yes.
you basically like listen up. Like Ukraine is not a nation like most European countries.
does that matter?
And this comes from a person that lives in Europe. It
What
does
does that
matter
matter?
because of the fact that they are not a NATO in the first place. They are not a
So?
NATO because of the fact that they are not aligning to us in that sense.
Zelensky
So,
asked to join NATO
Georgia,
very
when
recently.
when it comes to fucking Georgia,
Yeah,
they
so
are
we
more
told you
alike,
no.
more alike to our values overall whatsoever, and that's why we don't fucking jump the gun.
What are you talking about? Jumping the gun? Russia is in there right now.
But why we
Yeah,
not?
man.
Troubling people.
Why we not? Why we not
They're-
invading
they're-
Russia?
they're surrounding
That is like
Kiev.
NATO.
They're surrounding Kiev
Yeah, do
in
you
the
know?
streets right now,
Is
killing
Ukraine
people.
is Ukraine part of NATO?
It doesn't
Did
fucking
I
matter.
miss that? It does. It does
So,
because that's
okay.
our political alliance.
So should
It does
Europe get
fucking
involved?
matter.
So we talked about like the Americans getting involved. Should the Europeans do anything?
Yes, the Europeans
Yes.
should. The Europeans should get involved too. It should be a joint task force that goes in and intervenes in some way. I don't know exactly what way. I'm not a general, okay? I don't know exactly what the
that's pretty
best
obvious.
Oh boy.
point
So
to do.
wh-
But you guys especially have been wrong again and again and again and again on this. Why do you think you're right now? You think, oh, Russia will never invade. Oh, Russia will never do this. You're fucking
was-
wrong all the time.
Who
said that?
Every
Who said
single
that?
time.
Who said that?
Every single
Who said
time.
that here?
Every single
Bro,
time.
he's getting angry because I called him
Why
stupid a
would
couple days ago.
anyone,
about this.
why would anyone
Okay.
ever believe you again?
okay.
I-
Would
was-
anyone ever believe you again?
Okay. We can chill out here. All right. So Chinchilla, you can respond, Dr. K, and then I want to hear from my man Ted, who I haven't seen in a long time. Ted is
Hello.
here. I'm gonna blow our fucking heads off. All right, let's go. Chinchilla.
Yeah, first of all, Europeans can talk on the issue when they talk about European shit. So, Wick, you don't have to talk about fucking European shit. Like saying that we need to do shit because of the fact that you are fucking American or something, you know?
So don't talk about
It's
Americans
like-
staying out of this shit. You're not
So,
American. Don't tell Americans what they can
we
stay out
still-
of.
I'm not an American! You're fucking
You
trained!
What a privilege.
Stop.
I'm European! I'm fucking Dutch!
Okay.
I live in the fucking Netherlands!
Okay, everyone's been drinking tonight. Hooray!
Down here.
No. But I just want to clarify that, like, overall,
quickly,
I don't
come on.
think, like, when it comes to NATO, overall, we have our alliances, so it's like pretty easy how we do this shit. So we don't have Ukraine within our NATO alliance because of the fact that Ukraine is like pretty corrupt, and they only shifted their alliances after 2014. So, and because of that, and because of that, you need to have like a time period, like basically, say, oh, this
Okay.
person might be allying to this. So that's the issue there.
Hold
so
on.
yeah.
Wait, hold it. You're gonna get a chance to talk in the future. So Eclipse, you want to say something really quick, and then we're gonna go to Dr. K, Ted, and then Turk.
No.
And don't worry about it. Okay. Dr. K.
Okay, good.
Hey, I barely slept in a couple days. I'm not doing great.
Then go to bed. Get off the
no,
stream. Go to
no,
sleep.
No, fuck you.
You do this
Again,
every time we're on the same panel, dude.
I cannot urge this enough that doing this saber rattling shit and calling for action is it's a dangerous thing to do. You're doing absolutist kind of talk, and you really need to be careful with that kind of stuff. Okay.
Okay. All right.
The ult.
Oh, I thought you were done. I thought you were
right
done.
now-
Keep going.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm speaking very slowly because my brain's working very slowly.
It's all good.
Dr. K is
So-
drunk.
I'm not drunk. I'm fully sober. So, I'm sorry. I'm just really. I haven't been in the mood for jokes and shit like that. You want to be careful with the absolutist rhetoric of Storm Inn, because you have to realize, right, is that they are not technically part of our alliance network, and should you go in like that, right, you're just not guaranteed for a clean situation. Like, you could get in Iraq, you could get 1 million people dead if you go in, even more if you do not go in carefully and with like a level head. What the most extreme thing that I would say could even be on the table right now, right, is volunteer battalions. And even then, I wouldn't encourage nation states to actively arm in volunteer battalions. Like, it's very dangerous to be like, I am going to declare war on Russia. That is never a sentence that you start that has a good conclusion to it, even if you win. Right? We want to be minimizing casualties and maximizing stability more than anything else right now. And really, the only way to do that is to cut your losses, accept that the regions that are breakaway will be broken away, and try and get a peace deal out of this as fast as possible.
Okay.
Can I ask you something, Dr. K?
Okay.
Yes.
Ask quickly, and then I want to, because I have some people in line. Go ahead.
Why do you think it's absolutist to say send in troops?
To send in U.S. troops?
Correct. I don't think that's
Because-
absolutist, for example, in my brain. So I'm going to ask why you think that is.
Because
Better understand
once
why
you
you
have
say
sent
that.
in troops, right, you have officially declared war on the Russian Federation, right? This means
Not.
that... No?
I
Would
don't
it
agree
not
with
be
that.
war
That's
on the
why.
Russian
going.
Federation?
I don't agree with that.
Keep
I
going.
don't agree with that. Because there's no, if Ukraine agrees to have Russian troops to give them military access, then they would be allowed to have military access. That would be a choice. It's if Russia sees that as that aggression, that is a choice Russia is making at that point.
Precisely. That's the two regions of Ukraine that have been claimed as Russian separatist governments, which we talked about earlier in the panel, that have been claimed as, okay, these are gone, right? So now we're talking to mainland Ukraine, and that's what the main conversation piece here.
No, we did not even talking about that. Then you forget about like fucking Crimea, which is like Crimea is not recognized by the international
me sad,
community. So when you talk about like, we're not necessarily talking about like two regions. We're talking about like multiple regions. We're talking about like the Donbass regions, and we're talking about Crimea. But then also we talk about like the Novorossiya regions, which include like pretty much all of like southern like Ukraine bordering like the sea. So there are multiple regions when we talk about like Russian invasions and what they want to do with that.
So I can clarify. So there's three, according to what you just said, there's three regions, right? Crimea, which we have talked about, debated about. It is effectively Russian state.
Yes.
The community at large accepts as being its own.
And then we got
Ruled as an autonomous
Donetsk.
oblast.
Then we got Donetsk. And then we got Luhansk.
Right.
And then we have the region that is basically being contested as well, which is the southern Ukraine, which is like Russia, which is
Right.
like the greater part of like southern Ukraine and the eastern Ukraine area.
Right, and that's
So
area
that's
2 that Russia
that's
is
not
already-
area 2. That's like 50% of Ukraine.
He's
But
talking
yeah,
about a large
okay.
area of it, yes. And
Anyway,
obviously,
beyond-
if they're going to take that, why would they not take the rest? So
So
Well, anywhere
let's.
beyond the break.
No,
I-
No legitimate.
that wouldn't happen either. So they wouldn't take the full of Ukraine because of the fact that they want to have a puppet state in place. That makes sense because of the fact that they still want to have say like, oh,
That is
there's a
state
part of
too.
Ukraine and
That is
you know
part
they
of
want to
it.
have.
So I want to get to Ted. He's waiting patiently. So Ted and then Wick.
Everyone is mad as always. It's been months and everyone is still mad.
Hey Ted,
Okay.
I'm happy to have you here. Hey Ted, can I see your beautiful German face? Come on.
Maybe in a few minutes if I set up my stupid phone to be a camera. But
Okay, go ahead.
for now, I'll have to remind a blind
That is
invisible
beautiful.
actor. The thought that strikes me when I listen to this conversation for like the 10 minutes before I joined about like maybe we need to send troops into Ukraine and then Putin will pull out is the question I would raise is Vladimir Putin a rational actor in the way that we think he is? And I really think that Vladimir Putin does not subscribe to this Western model of rationality anymore. Because if you listen to his speech that he gave that like 2 days before launching this invasion, you can either say like, this speech was him like clicking the justify war button in Hearts 4 and like he's a super rational dude who like knows that he's lying about everything. But when he is saying that that he sees his country in a fight for survival, then I do not think that we need to necessarily misbelieve him. If he genuinely thinks that his country is in a fight for survival now, that this is Russia's last chance to survive, then a Western intervention in Ukraine will result in nuclear war. He will not pull back from that. And of course, from our perspective, it would be rational for Putin to just cut his losses if he's hit super hard. But we have no guarantee that he will. And
he won't.
I would encourage everyone to like be less confident in how they see like political leaders, especially from like cultures that are foreign to them, because like to the Russian mindset, like I don't want to be like culturally racist towards Russians, but the Russians grow up in a society that traditionally sees itself as a great power, right? Like they have very much nostalgia for the Soviet Union and to this idea that they used to be great and then came Yeltsin and he fucked everything up. Gorbachev and Yeltsin, of course. And now Putin is making things better again, at least from the perspective of Putin's supporters, right? So to the Russian mindset, it would be very offensive if we, the West, now came in and were like, Russia, pull back, right? And then if we continue to assume that Putin is also within this Russian mindset, which he is, he would absolutely see it as like the suicide of his legacy to then surrender, right? And at that point, why wouldn't he press the button? Like you ask, why would he? I ask, why wouldn't he? All right.
I don't agree with that
Okay,
portion,
so-
but I do agree that they do need it. They do need Ukraine, unfortunately, for a lot of reasons and resources. Russia has a lot of land, but not a lot they can do with it. So
I will say this,
It's
Dr. K,
Wick's-
you're exact.
We'll go to Wick, then Chinchilla, and I'm not sure if someone else had their hand up, but go ahead, Wick. And Wick and Turk, and then Chinchilla. Sorry.
Sure. So, yes, it is extremely dangerous. This situation is very dangerous. But I would argue that doing nothing right now or doing just sanctions is even more dangerous. And while,
I'm not
yes,
saying just
there is
do
a
that.
risk. Can I finish? There is a risk to any action we do. There is also a risk to inaction. And I think the risk for inaction is astronomically greater, because what happens when we do nothing and Putin gets away with this? Then we have other countries looking like, well, okay, we can get away with this. And in addition, no country will ever give us their nuclear weapons again, because Ukraine gave up their nuclear arsenal because we promised to protect them from shit like this. And no country like Iraq or Pakistan or India or North Korea or any other country, no rational actor will look at that and say, wow, okay, now I'm going to give up my nuclear weapons too.
none
They would
were
never.
ever
That
to
would
begin
never
with,
be a
my
thing
friend.
that anyone ever considers again. We would lose so much of our ability to bargain. Not that it's high now. I'm not saying it's high now. I am not. I understand that there are dangers to going in militarily, but we don't have to go all in. We can do this in a surgical and specific way. We
said
can.
that shit about Iraq and
We
Afghanistan,
can.
my
Just
friend.
because this heuristic
And
thinking
this
that
is
because it's
Mondo
happened this
leagues
way
above
once or
that.
twice before or a lot before, that it has to be that way always is just false. I understand that there is a lot at stake here, but there is more at stake. We know what will happen if we do nothing. We know what will happen. They will take Ukraine, and in a few years, they will do
Oh my God,
more
Dr. K, you don't need to
take more.
interrupt anything he fucking says. Do you need me to mute you? Holy shit. Like, let him finish. Holy shit.
I don't like being slandered.
Okay, all right.
Can I respond?
How was I slandering though? I don't understand. Like I was just saying you're wrong. That's not slander.
Yeah. All right, so Han, we're gonna go to Turk and then Chinchilla. And I'm sure Ted has something to say afterwards too. Oh, we have a new person, Ashley, and we want to talk to him as well. All right. So please, Turk.
Yeah, so I'm completely in favor of muting Dr. K because that's just dumb. Just needs a way to turn his mind into the entire conversation. I will say that when it comes to the U.S. intervention, right, where do we stand in this conversation? Should we be isolationist where we just condemn Russia and say, oh, you guys are doing bad things and all that good stuff? Or do we actually need to be putting boots on the ground in Ukraine saying, we're going to train you guys how to counter some of the air assets that are going across Kiev. We're going to actually give you guys munitions and anti-aircraft munitions is the wrong word, but it's similar, whatever. So it's like, as the United States, I could argue both points. As the United States, should we be providing these types of assets to Ukraine, who is it's not a full-fledged member of the NATO, but they are a fledgling member of NATO? Or should we just cut our losses and say, hey, Russia, you got Ukraine, don't go into any other places or else NATO's going to be the big bad boy here. And then we have to deal with that freaking drama fest because I don't think NATO's really got any stakes in the game and they're not going to bite.
Chinchilla,
I think overall, like the Turk brings up like interesting points. Like overall, when you are going to talk about like boots on the ground, that's not going to happen because like Ukraine is not part of NATO for 10,000 reasons. Overall, we have been providing Ukraine guns after like 2014, after their revolution, right? So we have been doing that. We have been like making their army overall like more like westernized or like not modern. Sorry, yes, exactly. So that's overall that's just happening, and I think that was just that was okay. Like honestly, like Russia didn't like that, and therefore we got this response, right? Overall, like when Big says like we need to like intervene and that kind of shit, like this is like fucking crazy. Like it's like imagine that we from NATO would intervene because Russia intervened with some shit within like Belarus, which is in Europe, or when they would like intervene with something within Kazakhstan, which is still within Europe. Like,
but Belarus
like overall, like no, I just want to say that overall, like those countries are aligned with Russia, but it's like it's a little bit like saying like it's just going into those countries because they are European, and it like Georgia got attacked like in 2009 and that kind of shit or whatever it was. It's like we didn't do shit, you know. We didn't start like World War III over there. So why why would we necessarily like start World War III over like countries that aren't in NATO overall, because they are just situated within Europe? It's like fucking crazy. It's like that's what you call like a military alliance, right? They are not in.
So I'll ask the question. So let's assume Belarus is a Russian agent and they're going to do what they're going to do. Does NATO have any responsibility to respond to this growing Russian or anti-NATO, that might be the better way to say it, anti-NATO force that's growing on a member that's trying to join NATO? They have actually pledged a certain level within the NATO agreement. They're not like full-fledged members, but they are aspiring members. Can NATO say, guys, F off, we're going to do this?
For NATO is just like it's an open invitation like thing, right? So every country can join. When it comes to like defending, it's a defending organization, so you cannot attack that organization, and it's like Article 5, right? So yeah, you know that shit. So it's not an offensive army whatsoever. So yeah, there you go.
Let's
But-
go.
but-
May I ask a question
Sorry.
to everybody here on
Uh,
Russia specifically then?
I'll go to Ted, then Gert. Ashley, if you have anything to add from there, and then we'll move on from there. Ted?
Yeah, I wanted to point out that, like, ironically, with NATO, the more like aggressive or offensive or interventionist NATO as like a institution acts, the less resolved it becomes internally, right? Because generally, all
Exactly.
NATO states are like vaguely democratic, with like vaguely like free speech and access to public media, right? Like some more than others, obviously. It does include Turkey, but the point is, like, the less defensive NATO is, the less resolved it gets, because the more controversial its actions are. Like, even in this conflict, Russia invading Ukraine, there are people online that are like, this is NATO's fault for daring to invite Poland back in
Yeah, they're
1990.
fuckers. Yeah.
So imagine if NATO was now like, okay, boys, get the planes. We're gonna send 2,000 fighter jets into Ukraine tomorrow, okay? And then we see what Putin does, right? Like the internal cohesion of every like NATO civil society would melt down, because everyone is like, no, why are you warmongering so much?
But why? Why would that
Yeah, why
be
would
the
that happen?
stance? Yeah.
Well, okay.
NATO is trying to
Okay.
establish a stance in the matter. They're
Mhm.
defending people that have claimed a certain level of allegiancy. There's members of NATO that have said, yes, we want this particular action to happen. So that got propagated forward, and they sent those people to do those things. So it's like, no, NATO doesn't do things on its own behalf. You know, people vote on what NATO does.
What is that particular action that you're referring to?
NATO flying planes into Ukraine and saying, hey, we're going to set up a no-fly zone across Ukraine in order to establish peace.
Has there already been a NATO state that has called for that?
Yeah. Have they actually done that yet? I think it was being discussed. I don't think anyone's actually done that yet.
It's a hypothetical for this conversation.
Oh,
So-
he claimed, oh, what would happen if NATO did this thing? It's like, okay, what happened if NATO did this thing?
To be fair, like when it comes to the third, like there have been like Polish like ships, like basically like transporting like weapons to Ukraine overall and that kind of stuff. That being said, that was not like a NATO endeavor, right? So these things need to be differentiated, and like overall, when it comes to like NATO overall, they won't like try to compromise their own like integrity. So they wouldn't like necessarily like do stuff in like enemy territory. So I think that makes sense because of the fact that you don't wanna have that World War III, right? So yeah.
So
There you go.
So hold on. I want to go to Gert and then Ashley.
Okay, so one thing, I'm Russian literally and a Russian citizen. So one thing that confuses me about a lot of Americans is why do you guys think that Russia is so powerful? It's really not as powerful. It's really much weaker than it is. So for example, UK military would probably be on its own sufficient to deter this, for example. So Russia is not overall powerful. The one
Yes.
powerful thing that Russia has is it has very resilient people. That's probably its most successful thing. Its tools are not as good as American. So please let me know, is there a reason why everyone is so like worried about Russia in that sense?
I would agree with that, but that being said, they have nuclear power, right? They have like the bombs, and that's the issue right here. And like overall, when you talk about like Russia, it's like, I'm not gonna say it's like a minor regional power, but I'm gonna say it's like a regional power that's like very influential.
Medium,
But
I
I'm
would
not.
say.
I wouldn't say like it's like a major power, right? So, but they still have the nukes, and that's the issue here, and that's what this makes so like dangerous.
So let's go to Ashley, who's been waiting quite patiently, and then Wick and Ted.
I was just going to agree with that. Like, I think nuclear bombs are kind of the core of why it's so scary dealing with Russia. I think that also, like, Russia's obviously doing a power grab, I think, for, like, resources here. And I think that would be a fair statement. So the worry might even be that they would get, like, more powerful after this. And that this would be dangerous. I guess what I'm saying is I'm really worried about a nuclear war starting off of this, so I could understand trying to treat it with care, and I wouldn't agree with sending boots on the ground into this situation. But I do think that saying that Russia's not that powerful completely undermines how powerful atomic bombs are.
Let's
They
go.
also have a lot of economic resources too. Like there's a lot of sanctions that we try to avoid affecting our access to those economic resources from the U.S.'s perspective. That's why partially they're a world power.
Before we go back to Wick, let's go to FlowChase because he hasn't had a chance to talk in a while. And then Wick, and then Ted.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important to underscore the nuclear threat, and I think that's sort of going back to the question you asked earlier, Prime. Why is it that people are so worried about Russia immediately going, a conflict between Russia and America immediately going to nuclear? It's because it kind of feels like that would be Russia's only option. If the United States really wanted to push Russia's shit in, then that's really their only option that they have. And that's why I think that the concern for that is so high. I think that Putin certainly isn't a perfectly rational actor, but I think that we need to be equally skeptical of the idea that he's absolutely willing to stake it all on Ukraine as we are to say that he'd be willing to scrap Ukraine. I think the reality is that Putin is a bit of an enigma. His government has a high likelihood of being filled up with yes men, and there's a certain respect that we need to have for the unknown of Putin and as to what his desires are. I think in Wick's defense, I think it's probably fair to be a little more monolithic in terms of Putin's control over Russia than we would say like Joe Biden's control over America. There's no doubt that Putin wields an enormous amount of influence over his country, probably more than any other leader except maybe like Xi Jinping or like North Korea with Kim Jong-un. I mean, like, I think that it is fair to say that Putin and his desires are going to wield an enormous amount of influence on what the Russian state decides to do more than any other country.
All right, so, defending Wick is the one thing I don't allow on my fucking panels. All right,
exactly.
Get the fuck out of here.
My positions defend themselves.
Can I defend Wick? No, just kidding. I'm not gonna do that.
But so again, I get the concern. I get that we need to treat this carefully, but that's why if we were to do anything militarily, we'd have to give Russia an out. What Putin needs now, what Russia needs now, is an out, an alternative to either full invasion or nuke if we do it. They need to feel that they are no longer under existential threat, but they also need to know we will stop any kind of invasion, because what we do not want to set up is a world where anyone with a nuke can just do whatever the fuck they want. That is not something we should. That is not a line we want to like draw. We just cannot. It cannot happen.
Wick, has the Russia people, have they gone full on invasion mode? Is that
The
a yes
Russian
or a
people, no, there obviously are protests in the streets and things like that there. And again, I want to highlight the bravery of the protesters in Russia right now. It's not like protesting in America. They are actually risking life and limb.
Ukraine that are getting shot at and have Air Force going against them. Are they being invaded by Russia at the
Ukraine
moment?
is being invaded by Russia right now.
Okay, so with that baseline, would you say that Russia deserves the respect of an out? Saying that
they deserve
regressed-
isn't the word. Deserve isn't the word. They need
That
it.
is the word.
No, they need it. They need
No.
it because otherwise it's like someone backed into a corner. You have to give an out.
No. That's the entire point of what I'm trying to say. Russia aggressed into this sovereign nation. They went into this sovereign nation's capital. Started doing assaults.
Terrible. Yes, it's terrible.
Do they deserve an out?
I think
again, they
It doesn't
deserve
matter.
it? No, but it's necessary to de-escalate.
No,
It's appeasement, right? Like they deserve to
It's-
probably like
it's
go
not
fuck off.
exactly
But
It's
the
not
point.
appeasement.
That's appeasement, dude.
Appeasement would be doing nothing. Appeasement would be just a few sanctions and call it good. No,
that's exactly why your point and your opinion here is not the correct opinion, because they are the aggressor. They are pushing themselves upon an independent nation, an independent city.
You realize I'm
and they are
advocating for
being
military
offensive.
intervention, right?
Yeah.
You realize I'm advocating for this, correct, Turk?
Against their invasion?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the one that's
I'm
actually
advocating
saying
for military
yeah,
intervention.
he wants the NATO intervention. He wants us to go into Ukraine, which is like
Even if
fucking
it's
crazy
just air
because
support.
Ukraine
Even if
is
it's
not
just air
part
support.
of
You
NATO.
want
two
U.S.
levels.
support too or not? Then
There's two levels. There's
Okay,
two
go
levels
on.
here.
Two levels. I just don't understand why you're yelling at me.
I'm yelling at you because I appreciate our conversation about the Blizzard stuff from the last
yeah.
week, because we talked
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
level-headedly. But Russia is the aggressor here. Everyone acknowledges that.
Sure.
What you're
certainly.
saying is that they deserve an out.
No, I am saying that
No.
in order
No.
to prevent a
No.
nuclear catastrophe,
No.
we
You
cannot
say they
we
deserve
cannot
an
give
out.
them
Do they deserve an out because we don't want a nuclear winter? Nope.
If
Your
we go
take
in,
is wrong. I'm
if
sorry,
we take
dude.
out
They are
again.
the aggressor in this instance.
So what would you like? They have already threatened nuclear war over this. They have said
Yes.
if any intervention whatsoever, they're going to do the nukes. I don't
it's
believe
not going
them.
to happen.
I don't believe them.
They
I think,
deserve an out.
however, I do believe them if we started to entirely push their sit in, went into Moscow and shit like that. Then nukes are on the table. I think I
No.
really believe that then it's going down.
Then
but if
they
we can
deserve
do it
an
in a
out.
measured way, this
No,
is
no,
the
no,
problem
no,
with
no.
this conversation.
No,
Just really
stop,
quick.
stop. Can I get a point of privilege?
Yeah. Can I finish after? I want after.
Okay.
I want to
Oh my god! All right. So point
Oh my
of
God.
privilege. Finish, and then I want to hear from
Yes.
Ted. Right? We have a beautiful German here. We gotta take advantage of that. All right. Go ahead.
So Russia is currently invading the capital of Ukraine. They are the aggressor in this instance. And what he just said, if we were to push into Russian land, they deserve an out. That is fucked up fundamentally and is a wrong take, and it should be admonished and kicked off. I'm sorry, dude. That's the wrong take.
Can I respond just really quickly to that? I think that, again, in these conversations, we tend to go binary. We tend to go, it's all or nothing. We either need to go in there and nuke Moscow, or we need to do nothing at
nuance
all.
to invading another country's capital. Okay.
Then we can make a more
Tell me the
measured
nuance on
response
that.
here. We could
What's the
definitely make a more
nuance?
measured response. We could go in and provide an air corridor for Kiev and evacuate the citizens. We could go in and provide a no-fly zone over Ukraine and saying, look, if you try to cross this with any of your military jets, we will shoot them down. There are steps that stop short of boots on the ground that are military in nature that we can take that might work. Again, I do not have all the information on hand to know what is the best choice here. I think even experts don't quite know what the best choice here. But it cannot be nothing. That's all I know. It cannot be nothing. We cannot do nothing. That's all.
So to refute what you just said, Russia was the aggressor going into Ukraine. Ukraine and whatever allies, whatever assets, push Russia back to the boundary.
Turk, are you
From
proposing
there,
an
it should be
invasion of
no harm,
Russia?
no foul. We're done.
I think. Oh, go on, please.
I was just gonna say, Turk, I think Wick is just trying to say here is that even though Russia is morally in the wrong and morally they don't deserve anything, it would be beneficial to us and Ukraine itself in order to give them an out, right? He's just saying that this isn't right necessarily in terms of like, if we were playing on like an even field here, but the thing that would benefit the world the most in terms of like the
And
actual
that's where
material
I have-
benefits.
And that's where I have the problem. If someone's going to aggress on my national sovereignty, I am only allowed to push back on that national sovereignty to my border. And from there, you're good.
So, Turk,
I'll-
I don't think we can say
want-
you're
you're
aggressing
Ukraine,
the
yeah.
American
we gotta
Unfortunately.
go to Ted next. He's been waiting patiently, but I'll aggress on your fucking mom. So anyway, go ahead.
I just want to respond to that last thing by Turk.
Oh.
That consideration is only like valid for like Americans, because you guys are the only country in the world that, first of all, fantasizes about being attacked by other people, because no one else will ever
Ukraine is
attack
being
you.
attacked right
And
now,
second
dude.
of all,
Ukraine is being
it's
attacked
powerful
right now.
enough to push back. Like Ukraine
Ukraine
never,
is
Ukraine
taking down
will
air
never push
assets
back
across
to the Russian
Kiev, dude.
border. The Russians are winning.
No.
Okay.
And they are attacking Kiev. Kiev is trying to defend themselves, and they are taking down air assets. Ghost of Kiev. It's a meme, but go and look it up, dude.
Ghost of Kiev
Russia is
urban myth.
the aggressor in this instance, and y'all are giving them a pass.
Well,
No, that's not what he's trying to do. What he's trying to say is, here's the problem. You can probably attrition Russia out of Ukraine, but what's going to happen is it's going to be very, very long term and expensive for Russia and for the rest of the people involved. It's actually going to be more expensive for NATO, America, and the rest of the countries involved. It's going to cost them more to try to attrition them out. Is it a possibility? Yes, it's most likely a very possible to attrition them out, right? But that's not the problem here. The problem is that if you want a faster solution, the unfortunate truth is giving up that bit of territory. The truth is Russia probably doesn't want that little bit of territory. They probably want more of Ukraine, and they're going to keep taking until they're stopped, basically. That's the problem. So since everyone seems to be afraid to go in there, and that's my concern here. My concern is that everyone's stating these other things. While it does sound like, what is it, Whisk or whatever your name is?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Wick,
You got it. Whisk, you got it. Whisk, you got it. Go ahead.
Wick is partly right on one part, that you don't have to start hardcore. Okay, you can start with something minute. You can start
just
by
bomb the
bombing
capital of Ukraine.
empty.
It's not a
No,
big
you can
deal.
bomb empty places. You can
We
bomb
bomb
empty
the
places.
capital of Ukraine. It's not a big deal.
No, I'm serious in the sense of Turk. I don't understand. Some of your stuff is weird. Okay, but the point is
they are
with
actively
Turk,
bombing
let him
the capital
finish
of
the sentence,
Ukraine, dude.
Okay. So here's the thing. So America and NATO can bomb assets that are unguarded, because there will be, because Russia doesn't have manpower, not that much manpower. So they can start bombing unmanned assets at the very least. And then they can bomb assets that are manned eventually if they have to. But at that point, the point is Russia doesn't have resources. Since Russia doesn't have resources and Putin can foot the bill for the war himself for a bit, he's gonna run out of money, and Russia's gonna run out of money in that sense. And the people who are gonna suffer the most are gonna be the Russian population. This may lead to better things for Russia, believe it or not, if it's a war of attrition, and if it started with calculated strikes rather than just a full invasion. When I say send boots on the ground, I'm not saying fight the Russians. I'm saying if the Russians fight you. There's a difference. Like, whoever shoots the bullet is always the enemy.
That's terrible phrasing, but I get what you
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. But
So-
I just want to say, like...
So Chinchilla, Dr. K, and then Flowtrace, okay?
Can I finish what I said earlier?
Oh, did you? Oh, did you not finish?
No,
I'm sorry.
I
Did someone interrupt my German? Did someone? Who the fuck interrupted my German? Motherfuckers. Ted, go ahead.
It's probably the French.
No, the
It's probably
Dutch.
the French.
Stop. Dutch man, stop. We got a German on the panel.
It was
Please.
probably the French.
Ted.
So
True.
I'm blaming
true.
the French. Always.
So the
they
problem
always
with,
surrender
like,
as well.
the problem with this engaging like this hyper moralistic, Putin is wrong to do it, so now let's do the utmost we can do to stop him. I like on a moral level I agree with this, but the logical outcome of that is nuclear war, right? So if we are willing to go to that length, okay, sure. But I don't know. I'm a bit afraid of a nuclear war, and I think most people are. So this is the needle we are threading, right? Like it's very
You're
hard.
afraid of any other in between that and nuclear war, though.
It's very easy to be like this like armchair general on the internet right now and be like, haha, I know better than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is being a fucking idiot. Boris Johnson's being a fucking idiot.
No, this has nothing to do with Joe Biden.
Let him finish the sentence.
Or Volodymyr Zelensky or Vladimir Putin are being fucking idiots, right? Well, Putin is being a fucking idiot. But I don't know. Okay. But it's very easy for us to be like, haha, the solution is obvious, because obviously the reaction of the other side would be this and this, because obviously the moral and descriptive things from our perspective are this. But as I tried to get at earlier, the moral and the descriptive viewpoint of the other side might be different, right? And if it is different, then their assumptions about how to react to our steps will be different. And if our assumptions on how they react to their assumptions on how they should act diverge, then the reaction they will undertake to our action will diverge from the ones we expect. And that is where the risk comes from. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So
can I speak?
No.
No, please.
So yeah, this is the thing, like having like basically like having like a nuanced take on this whole issue. Like some people would just go for like basically like putting troops on the ground within Ukraine while they are not even within NATO. They want to have like World War III, and they don't think it gets nuclear. Overall, when one of these powers. Or when one of these powers within the powers, right, will be able to press that nuclear bomb, they can. I know within the Netherlands that we have nuclear bombs over here. So imagine it's like a World War III starting, and it's like Russia taking over the Netherlands, and some crazy motherfucker is like, oh, we're just gonna shoot these like nuclear bombs over towards like Russia or something. What do you think would happen, right? So like obviously like it takes like a really tiny bit overall to start a nuclear war that's like devastating for all of us. Yeah, I just overall think that Ukraine is not worth that. To be fair, because Ukraine is not a aligned country with us, and it does have like different values from the past until like 2014, where they kind of changed that up, you know?
Let's go to Dr.
So
K.
they were
She's
too
been
late.
waiting patiently. And then who was Wick and yeah.
Can I?
Okay. I don't want a long follow up to this. I want one sentence reply. But I'm dying to know what is the answer to this. Turk, are you genuinely proposing like a land invasion of Russia? You can just say
No.
like
No,
Okay.
that was Wick.
No,
Yeah,
Whoa.
no, he
That's
was
not
not.
Wiki then.
Anyways, like I said, I wanted a one word answer. Yeah, no, I think Ted hit upon something very poignant there, right? Is that us Americans, we have to realize that we are a political island. The nations that border us are Canada and Mexico, and two absolutely enormous oceans. There's a real human cost to war, and that war will not be bore the brunt of by Americans. It will be bore the brunt of by Ukrainians, Russians, and Eastern Europeans, right? So ideally, we want to make this as quick and as bloodless as possible. You don't want to extend a surgical operation and have the patient bleeding and bleeding and bleeding while you sit there trying to do everything you can to ensure that it's perfect. You want to just make sure that they aren't fucking dead. You want it to be quick and painless, right? And so this idea, all right, we don't have to send in, a full scale army invasion. In fact, we absolutely shouldn't, because again, they are not part of any official military alliance. They're just a very close partner state.
Okay.
That said, short of military troops rolling in, yes, there is quite a lot we can do. Like I said, extremer examples are things like volunteer brigades, heavy supplementation of their military assets and shit like that. That said, the idea of sending in an army and rolling in is demented, and it's going to get lots and lots of people killed if we do that.
Okay. All right. So we'll go to Wick. He's been waiting quite patiently. And then we'll go to Flo, Turk, Ashley. Did you have your hand up previously? Okay. Yeah. And just for future reference, alpha hands, right? Alpha palms to the camera, so you can see, right? Alpha palms. And we'll go from there. And Abolition. We'll see if you have anything to say as well. Let's go to Wick.
Okay, so I want to be very clear. When I say military intervention, I do not necessarily mean actual physical boots on the ground. There are things we can do that fall short of it. I think Dr. K mentioned a few. There are others I would advocate for. I think flow trace, striking unmanned assets in Ukraine. Okay, yeah, that's maybe. But an incremental approach where you push a little and see what the response is, and then you can judge whether we should push more or not is rational, it's reasonable, and the only thing I would counter to Ted's point is that, and to Chinchilla, I think, I'm not entirely sure what Chinchilla's point is here, but I'm going to try. And correct me if I'm wrong, I might be getting Vince wrong, and I apologize if I do, that if we do anything that is going to be met by nuclear war, I don't think that's the case. I do not think, I really do not believe that's the case. I understand that that's a possibility, but I think the chances are so low, so unlikely that, again, there are things I wouldn't do. I wouldn't advocate for it all, like going into Russia. That's insane. But there are things I would advocate for above what we are doing now, because again, we cannot create a situation where we do nothing, because if we do nothing except for sanctions, this is going to happen again. It's going to happen again. It might not be Russia, it might be China with Taiwan, but it will happen again. It's far more dangerous. The risk is far higher, and it's kicking the can down the road, because we'll find ourselves. And I understand you don't think that Ukraine matters, but eventually we will find a country that matters to you. Because who's bearing the brunt? Let me finish. Who's bearing the brunt of the invasion right now? The Ukrainians are. The Ukrainians are bearing the brunt of a total war at this case, where they are going in, being killed, surrounding their city, going to starve them out. Let's think of it. Siege warfare is fucking monstrous, and starving them out, that's fucking monstrous. So the very least we could do is provide air evacuation for the civilians in Ukraine. I think that's a very, very minor thing we can do. I absolutely wouldn't stop there, but I understand some might. But that's absolutely should be on the table.
Okay. So you addressed me. So just to quickly respond, overall, I think we should support the Ukrainian people. We should support their resistance to any for nations that are coming in. And I think we have been doing that since 2014. So I was agreeing with that. But overall, when it comes to engaging with nuclear war between over Ukraine, because of the fact that Ukraine is not within NATO whatsoever, I don't think we should engage in nuclear whatsoever, with between Russia and America. I think that's ridiculous. So that's just what I say. But overall, I would agree with your point. when I say like we gotta support like nations, like that are not necessarily within NATO with guns and that kind of shit. I think that makes sense.
Let's move on to Flow Trace, Turk, and Ashley, then Abolition.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Dr. K. They just left. Well, never mind.
Why did Dr. K leave?
Well, okay. That's sorry. I actually had another question
Did
for
he
Turk.
get kicked?
No, I didn't kick him.
I'm not sure.
Kicked them.
Okay.
I just had a question for Turk. I just to try and bridge this a little bit more. Turk, do you think it's possible for an action to be morally justified, but a bad idea to do?
Entirely possible, yeah. Sometimes standing up for your morals doesn't necessarily stand for the best option for a particular outcome, depending on what your particular outcome is going to be, yeah.
Okay, so then I guess if that's the case, then do you think that what you're advocating for would actually be a good idea in the long term? Like you think that people are sort of overblowing the risks of what you're advocating for when it comes to really pushing back on Russia?
You would have to be specific in what you're trying to claim my position is. I would say that yes, there are certain instances where morally standing for a particular position would be beneficial for a particular nation. This kind of goes to what I'm going to talk about my point here in a second. Or taking the opposite position and not doing that same thing. So it's like, yes, there's a moral obligation for people of their groups.
Yeah, you're saying that standing up for that moral right is in and of itself like materially good. Like that is like a positive like end goal that we should just throw out to the wayside. Is that an accurate summarization?
For some instances, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Dr. K, are you back? Because if so, I'd love to ask you this question.
What was the question?
I was just gonna say, so Dr. K, when you talk about wanting to seek a end to the war as fast as possible, I think we all agree we definitely want the war to end. But I'm just curious, when you say sort of suing for peace and giving Russia those regions, do you think that argument in any way could lend itself to essentially saying any time a country is invaded, so long as the invader is not planning like genociding your people, the most moral thing to do is to simply throw down your arms? Because it kind of seems like any defense of a country would prolong the war, and I just feel like.
I hate to say it, right, because this is going to sound extremely wishy-washy and like I'm wriggling a bit, but essentially it depends on the circumstances that are occurring. Every war has a different reason it started, a different reason it ends, and a different reason people are fighting in it, right? And so, it is impossible to create a universal doctrine for how to address military conflicts.
So speak specifically to what's going on in this conflict.
What specifically about Ukraine would make you say then that the most moral option is for them to just sue for peace and essentially cede that ground?
I would specifically say, right, is because these regions are not there is not a domestic support to the degree that if a total repulsion occurred, right, these regions would still be actively belligerent against their host nation for a number of reasons. Two is the powers that are involved are, when you have a conflict like the Syrian civil war, right? These are all inter-nation powers, right? They're all factions within the same country. And so you can act a lot more freely with the amount of power you're willing to dole out and who you're going to support. But this is a mechanized global power, right? Not equivalent to the US, of course, but an incredibly strong regional power that, if conditions were right, could easily become a global hegemon. And so the capacity for violence is much higher here, and what you have to lose by ceding these two regions is relatively little.
Okay. Yeah, so that's like pretty crazy overall because of the fact that if imagine like having a lot of Ukrainians living in like a region within like Russia overall. Would you say that they need to succeed those regions or whatsoever? I think this overall, it's like when we talk about this,
if
it's
there
like
is a
might
this is
makes
something
right,
consistent about
right?
me, Chinchilla, is if there is a region of a country that has a sizable breakaway movement, I'm generally going to be in favor of allotting some level
What is
of higher
sizable?
autonomy.
What is your line for sizable?
But
Generally, I would say about 20% of the population.
I think when it comes to these things, right? Generally, overall, within Europe, we don't try things on like a naturalistic perspective anymore because of the fact that we have within like a lot of European countries, we have like a minority of something else.
Now, Chinchilla,
And
let's
yeah,
first, before we go
and
further-
that's why we established like the European Union in the first place, because
But
we didn't
Chinchilla,
have
there's a logic
we
gap
didn't
here.
we didn't want to have those conflicts in the first place anymore. But
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, you're sort of assuming that all European states hold this sort of mono value when we've
Mono
literally
value?
discussed, like they all
What's
have this same belief that you are sort of propositioning here. when in
what's the
fact
mono?
we've literally
What's the belief that I propositions then?
that these systems were created to prevent another like nationalistic war, and that all Europeans sort of want to engage with those systems.
I'm saying that the states that we have within the European continent are based on a nationalistic identities, and it makes like perfect sense because Italians have like their own Italian like heritage. French people have their own French stuff. Like
any
every nation states
level of nationalism holding it together.
every nation state within Europe has like a specific identity, and we kind of been like dissembling there when it comes to the European Union and that kind of stuff. And it's like this is the thing where Russia comes in, and this is what Russia definitely doesn't like, because of the fact that we have been uniting amongst ourselves without being like embracing like the Russian identity and that kind of shit. So yeah.
Well, there are breakaway movements within Europe, yes.
There are, yeah, and there are
the
valid there are valid ones as well, because of the fact that when it comes to the UK and their breakaway right from the European Union, it's because they don't have like the same law institutions, and they don't have the same law history as well. So
they just don't want to be part of it yet.
Yeah, so
for cultural, economic.
So I want to move on the conversation. There are other people who've been waiting a lot. Wow. So Turk, did you ever get your point in? Because you were next, then Ashley.
Yeah, I'm going to get my point in. Yes.
Okay. So go ahead.
So to Ted, would you say that the current aggression that Russia is doing against the Ukrainian sovereignty is a net moral good for people across the world?
It is an absolute moral evil that is reprehensible in every dimension.
Okay, so from that standpoint, Ukraine has every right to refute it, push it back, and all that stuff.
Of course, yes.
Okay, so from that standpoint, they also have the right to request aid and request people to back them up in this endeavor.
Of course, yes.
Okay, cool. So you would have, this is me, strawmanning you. You would be okay if the United States decided to drop 10,000 troops into the middle of Kiev and saying, hey, Russia, get the fuck out. And we started pushing towards the Ukrainian border. You'd be okay with that?
I mean, I'm not American, so I guess it's you guys getting nuked, not
I'll
me.
give you the pass.
But hey, I have the Yankee pass now. Howdy diddle do, partner. Was that racist?
But for the moral good, would you be okay with that?
For the more, I don't think I don't think anyone does. Okay, maybe politics should be done by moral good, but that's not how it works, right?
Sure, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Economic sanctions aren't doing anything, and Russia continues to attack Ukraine.
But it does things. It does actually work.
It's not working
we fucking tanked Russia overall. But whatever.
Let me phrase it this way, right? Like when your country illegally breached international law by invading Iraq, Russia condemned that too.
Don't pivot from the current situation that's going on.
It's a parallel that's more personal to you to underscore why this purely moralistic approach is fallacious. The idea that just based on morality we should conduct actions that multiply the harm done to the world, humanity, or the theater in question would be why might be a bad idea.
Then why is Russia invading Ukraine?
Russia is invading Ukraine to fulfill the Russian leadership's ethno-nationalistic ambitions,
exactly,
and to secure maybe to secure additional natural resources. We haven't yet seen what Russia's end game actually is. Maybe people here assume that Russia wants to fully annex all of Ukraine. I don't know
if they can.
If the conversation I'm not immediately convinced, because that would also include 25 million ethnic Ukrainians.
Well, they've said that's their goal. They've said that's their goal for years and years and years.
I personally think that they most likely want to get Eastern Ukraine to.
Why aren't we believing them when they say this? Why do we keep not believing them?
In the demand that Vladimir Putin sent about 10 days before this war started, he said, "Give us a promise that we want Ukraine to promise they never join NATO. We want the states that joined NATO, I think, since 1997 to leave NATO, and we want our Russian minorities in Ukraine to have full autonomy." And this full autonomy was a euphemism for recognize our annexation of Crimea, and two, we want to move towards annexing Donetsk and Luhansk, right? Which is probably the next step as well.
It's basically the puppet state, right?
I'm not a Putin fan. I don't want to make
Me neither.
Vladimir Putin is the greatest the greatest singular geopolitical aggressor when it comes to individual people alive in the world right now.
But it goes back to my question. Morally speaking, does the United States have a right to say, I'm going to put 10,000 troops in Ukraine, in Kiev, we're not going to be aggressive at all, we're just going to put our troops here? Do we have that right?
No.
Let's say
under false pretenses, I would say they should.
Let's say the answer is yes.
They shouldn't.
Okay. I don't know if the answer is yes or no. There's as I said, this moralistic questioning, I think, leads nowhere when discussing geopolitics. But let's assume for the sake of the argument, the answer
PrimeCayes show. This is Twitch, dude. Come on.
Okay. Hey, I will not take this slander to PrimeCayes show. This is the highest level intellectual political discourse you can find anywhere on the planet.
Goddamn right.
True.
Goddamn right.
Fair enough.
6 days a week,
And sometimes Sunday.
You should sub. You should sub to Prime.
Let's say the answer is yes. You have the moral right. The question is still: is it a good idea?
I will take that.
If it's a good idea to do it, I take no issue with your view on morality. I take an issue with the real political outcome of what your morality would infer. Your morality seems fine to me, but I think it might be a bad idea to act on that morality. That's my problem.
Fair. But the way I phrase the question, if the United States decide to put 10,000 troops in Kiev, all they do is sit there, they're going to twiddle their thumbs, you would be completely okay with that?
Sure, in that hypothetical which you just crafted, yes. But I will, of course, immediately point out that if you deploy 10,000 troops into an active war zone, it's still probably going to be an active war zone, and troops have the right and the obligation to defend themselves. So then the American troops immediately start to use their weapons, and then the Russians say, "Aha! See, the American troops are attacking us." Then they attack the other American troops that haven't yet engaged in the fighting. Then all the American troops are fighting, and now the U.S. is just fighting in the war, right?
And that's another hypothetical for another conversation down the line.
I think
I agree on that one.
Okay, all right, we got it. We got to let in because she's been waiting for so long. Ashley, please.
It's fine. I'm actually really enjoying listening to the other perspectives. So I'm content if they want to keep going back and forth waiting a bit longer.
Okay. You guys want to entertain her?
No, I'll do it. So again,
I wanna hear Essie's point on this one. Honestly,
I was mainly going to bring up the question that I've kind of had, which is, if you look at it, like, we obviously on Ukraine's end, this is a war for survival. If they get fully taken over, they're just gonna get annexed for all we know. It's very unlikely that Russia would be okay just with the initial peace arrangement that they wanted. So I think that it's like a war for survival on their end. But then I also think that on Russia's end, it's kind of like a war that they're not going to ever surrender. So I actually really agreed with that point earlier of it might be, obviously we would never want to give concessions, right? But like the idea of concessions isn't ridiculous. I kind of do agree with that on the idea of saying in this situation, it might be okay to not give them everything they want, but say, hey, we could talk about that. But I think that the main issue that we need to think about is if we start supporting Ukraine, I'm fully for that, but a big issue that could come from that is a very long stalemate war that ends up taking many years to sort out because both sides don't really want to give in.
So yes, that is a risk. It is. And I've acknowledged that again and again on this panel, that there are real risks to my suggestions here. But there are real risks, and I think we're glossing over and ignoring the very real risks of doing nothing. Because again, we should believe Putin when he says, I want Ukraine. Not, I want these portions. I want Ukraine. This has been something he's done again and again and again. Look at Crimea. Again, same playbook. A bunch of stuff started over there, so they went in, annexed it. Well, they didn't annex it. The people, after they went in, voted on it. And, oh, look, 90% of the people, when you hold a gun to their heads, vote yes. Wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And it's just this thing where he has made this isn't a secret. This isn't something he's been trying to hide. This isn't something he's been trying to keep under covers. This has been his plan for decades. This is what. But I also think we
have to take into account that this is kind of like a leader that knows that his people really like it, or at least like his approval ratings really go up when he invades Ukraine, right? That happened with Crimea. So it seems like a lot of his support comes from that. So it makes sense that even if he didn't intend to fully annex Ukraine initially, he would always say that he wants to for the people, because he's trying to appease his people.
Yes, but I believe him when he says it, though. I believe him when he says it.
But what he's saying it...
Yeah, but look what he's doing now. He's invading Ukraine. Why would he secede that? If he could take Kiev, if he could take the territory, why would he give it up? What reason would he have?
He doesn't want to border with NATO.
I just want to say
NATO's never I know that a lot of people saying, well, this is about NATO. NATO has nothing to do with this. Again, he's wanted Ukraine for a long time. NATO has nothing to do with this.
Okay,
NATO's just a bug right now. They're just something that's annoying. That's all that it is. Because if he gets Ukraine, then yes, you're talking about bordering it. So then that means it never mattered anyway. Still. So it's still true that means NATO never mattered, and even in that scenario.
Let's go to Abolition. Abolition has been waiting quite a bit, and then more of my German, and then Chinchilla.
So I actually agreed with one thing that Wick had said earlier, where it would have been like the morally superior thing to actually go out of your way to evacuate the Ukrainians. However, I think it's a lot more efficient for the neighboring states to take the bit and the United States to take some too. Maybe even fly. I think it's more realistic to fly Ukrainians off the current situation out of, like, say, Romania, who agreed to take 500,000 Ukrainians, Poland, Belarus, if Belarus is actually taking them, although Russians invaded from Belarus as well. So that's kind of a weird pickle. Same thing with Moldavia. But I really feel like the most currently the United States could do is just take in refugees, other than like indirect support, like still giving them guns, still giving them body armor and shit, uh, weapons in general. But like, there's not a lot that America is going to do.
Okay. Let's go to fuck. Who did I say was next? Did I say Ted was next? Let's say Ted.
I think so.
Hmm?
So, I wanted to again point out that this is like what is at play here is again a mismatch between what we perceive and what the Russians perceive. Like earlier, we had this talking point, and like everyone in chat making fun of like how Russia is really weak and it's a middle power or a regional power. That's not how they see themselves, okay? And that's not how they want to be perceived, and that's not how they act. I don't know how deep we need to go to like international relations theory, but a great power is a country that is seen by others to be a great power. Like Russia has a GDP of Canada or Italy. Russia isn't a very rich or economically wealthy country in the sense that like Germany or the UK or even, of course, the United States or China is. But
I've even seen comparisons of like individual states within the United States to Russia's GDP.
Yeah, Russia is about equivalent to like California. Well, California is richer than Russia.
The half of California. That's what I heard.
Half of California.
Yeah, so go even further down the like United States hierarchy, dude.
But California isn't invading Oregon with a nuclear arsenal of 6,000 warheads, right?
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
They're invading Texas.
Good, based. Now,
hell yeah, brother! Hell yeah! Hell yeah, brother!
Come on, dude.
Anyway,
you're all welcome here.
Anyway, what I was getting at is, let's because earlier I heard this has nothing to do with NATO. Now, from our perspective, this might because it's a non-NATO state invading a non-NATO state. But again, if we read the speech that Putin gave before his declaration of war, he didn't formally declare war. Before, like his army invaded, he said, and I quote, "What I think is important." He recorded before and it was broadcast simultaneously. What I think is important.
Before the invasion. All right.
Let him finish. Ted, finish. Dre, I see your hand. I got you too.
Literally before, yes. But okay, what I think is important to emphasize further, the leading NATO countries, in order to achieve their own goals, support extreme nationalists and neo-Nazis in Ukraine and everything, who in turn will never forgive the Crimeans and Sevastopol residents for their free choice reunification with Russia. They, of course, will climb into the Crimea, and just like in the Donbass, with a war in order to kill as punishers from the gangs of Ukrainian nationalists. Hitler's accomplices killed defenseless people during the Great Patriotic War. They openly declared that they lay claim to a number of other Russian territory. So the comparison of Ukraine, which, by the way, the Ukraine and the Ukrainians are recognized to exist as entities by Putin in this speech. So he doesn't say, like, we want Ukraine and everything. What his goal is quite clearly is, what he states his goal to be is a regime change. And that regime change is motivated by NATO doing things, right? So we cannot say that NATO has nothing to do with this. If
this is propaganda he's making, though. You
Of
understand that, right?
of
He's
course.
fucking lying to put a tissue paper thin veneer to justify what he's doing. It has nothing to do with why he's actually doing it.
Ted?
He is not telling the objective truth, but whether or what he is saying is not true, but whether or not he is lying, like, definitionally depends on if he knows that if what he says is not true from his perspective. And the idea that NATO is encroaching on Russia is older than Vladimir Putin.
What's your point here? What's your purpose of saying these things?
The purpose is that everyone is like, ha ha, look at this guy. He clearly is being an evil guy, and his people are against him, and his country is against him, and he is being a dictator who's like acting against the will of the entire world. And if only we can overthrow him, then everything will be better. That's also something I heard earlier. Who knows?
That's not what Russians think, unfortunately.
But I'm asking, what is your purpose in saying these things? Because this is a very delicate situation, and what you're saying isn't really contributing to the condemnation of his actions, which we should all be like.
I have condemned his
championing.
actions quite
But I'm
unequivocally.
just saying, like, it doesn't seem like it's very like thought out in the
And you've kind
presentation.
of like soft condemned it, but continued to propagate it forward.
Well,
So-
it just sounds like that. I'm actually seeing what Wick
Did
is
he call
saying
it
here
morally
on that regard.
He called
I
it like
think I
morally.
called- I think I called it morally reprehensible in every aspect of its being and like condemnable. But
it's still good. They should keep doing it.
I don't think there's a but in this situation though. Like you don't do the things that are happening right now and then have a but to it, you know?
If they actually, yeah, if we strictly divide morality from how like again, this is me being realpolitik, I guess. If the Russians indeed perceive themselves to be in a death struggle for survival, then any counter reaction against them that will further, like, let's say putting 10,000 US troops in Kiev, will massively aggravate the further risk of a global annihilation.
Okay,
right?
that's fine. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Okay. Maybe I started sounding like a Putin apologist there.
You did.
but-
I was just trying to steer you away from that, so you didn't end up like sounding like you were fucking like a spokesperson for the Kremlin. You know what I mean? I was really trying to.
I am getting interrupted.
Glad he isn't.
But I apologize. Okay.
Yeah, that's I try to assume the best in people, so I don't want to assume that you're propagating, Russian agitprop. I'm trying to.
That is very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to be careful.
Okay. All right. So
Good job, Clouds.
I honestly fucking forget the.
It's Dre. Oh, motherfucker.
Well, no, not your name. No. I mean, I was saying I forget the order.
I called him Dr. Clouds.
Okay,
All
so
right.
let's not flow trace in. I'm sorry, I forget the order. I apologize.
No, it's all right. No problem. Yeah, Ted, I just wanted to ask, Ted, I definitely think that you are right to have a question about the Russian perspective. I just something I wanted to clarify though is you do, there is the mindset of Putin, and then there's the mindset of the Russian people. Do you think there's significant divergence in this? I mean, Putin is absolutely a dictator that does not represent the will of the Russian people generally.
Well, it depends. The usual answer is Get hard. I think you said you're Russian, right?
Yes, I'm
fantastic. So interrupt me if I'm saying anything wrong. So Russian political culture has long been based on the exclusion of the Russian people from how political power is operated, right? You have
correct. Russian people don't have any power in essence.
You have the oligarch.
Since the czars are longer ago. Yes.
Disengagement. Right?
You have the oligarch class. You have the fact that elections
rich people.
are exactly. You have the fact that elections are hilariously fraudulent. A very powerful secret police apparatus, but this does not necessarily mean that everything that Putin does not reflect the ambitions of the Russian people. And again, correct me if I say anything wrong.
I don't think that's true, no.
Do you think that Putin is widely unpopular in Russia, or?
Yes, the thing about Russians is Russians do not speak out against Putin in Russia, but once they leave Russia and they know they're gone for good, they have no problem speaking out about him. It's because we would be killed or our families would be killed. But if all our family's out of Russia, hey, I'm good.
So what I got it from the Russian public is overall that they are extremely disconnected with any politics, and they are basically saying I don't give a fuck about politics anymore because of. They are kind of disconnected overall. They are fuck politics. I don't care anymore. I don't care about this shit, So,
but not like that. Not like that. Okay, so Russians, I would say the majority of Russians currently under what they're under, they would definitely prefer Western lifestyle over Russian lifestyle. Okay, so because people know that Americans and Europeans live a better lifestyle. You go to a Russian hospital, it's shit. Okay, you go to a Russian dormitory, a Russian apartment, most of them are garbage. They know from Zillow, okay? Like, it is not easy to tell that the lifestyle is better in a garbage ghetto area in America than it is in an average place or something that might be considered slightly better than average in Russia. So it is not just a disconnect, it is Russians are unfortunately used to having a shitty government. They're used to having a shitty government for a long period of time, and for once they have a period where a large amount of their military is not there, right? That's my thing on this. So the problem is that politically, Russians do not like Putin, but they do not say it there. And I feel bad, and I don't think Russians should protest, okay? I don't. Because that is not a smart move. In Russia, you protest, bad things happen to you, and bad things will happen probably to your family. So they're not as nice as the CCP.
Where are they taking
okay?
the protesters when they jail them, or like when they arrest them, like the riot police? Because I heard like
some you'll know, some you won't, some will be released. Depends on how wealthy their families are and all sorts of other situations. So
Gert, I was going to say, I think what Ted is trying to get at, and Ted, if I'm misinterpreting you, then feel free to interrupt me. What Ted is trying to get at is that there might be, Putin is a dictator, absolutely, but there still might be times where Putin's interests align with the people's. It just might be incidental. He's not doing them because that's what the people want, but just because that's what he wants, and he couldn't give a rat's ass whether or not that does align with the people.
Okay, so in that sense,
a bit more specific.
still not really. Unfortunately, it's still not really because it is like on a deep level. Outspoken and publicly, people will say good things. I'm serious when I say this. It's not. It's really that simple that Russians really overall don't like him, and he's been pissing people off more and more. The only thing that Russians like is the sense of theater, in essence, that he provides. So in essence, he's a smarter Donald Trump, right? So it's entertaining. It was entertaining to watch Donald Trump as a president in America. Did he do a great job? Not really, but at the same time, he was entertaining. So in Russia's eyes, at least Putin is entertaining. At least he has provided a better lifestyle than they had under the czars, under Stalin, and so forth. But they know that it's not still great. They know that it's still garbage. The wealth differences in Russia are huge. $100 gets you a lot when you're poor in Russia, $100 American dollars. My family would send money to our family in Russia before she passed away. So, like, it is not as connected, and it's getting further and further. And to be honest, it's thanks to social media, and I hate social media overall, but it is thanks to social media that Russia knows life can be better. And that is probably helping Russia stand up for itself, though not in the smartest way. They should play this like a good game of chess and know that they should be able to communicate silently with each other if they want an uprising.
That makes
that's
sense.
their chance.
Yo, so
okay. Hold on. We got Eclipse. Hey, we'd love to hear from you.
I just want to hear I want a question. I have a question for Gert. I want to know if he's Russian. Are you Russian?
Я русский, на самом деле. Привет, как дела?
Okay, that's all I have to. That's all I have to.
Okay, Drake.
Says a lot.
Yeah, so
And Turk.
So I'm gonna kind of take the conversation a little bit back to what we were talking about with Ukraine, and like what steps should take in place, or what steps should take place, and kind of just say for the Ukrainian citizens that are like in these subways and the ones that are actually displaced by this invasion, appeasement isn't the worst route to go in the short term. I think I don't think that troops on the ground or providing air support or any type of military incursion in this time right now is the best decision. I think it's the best to actually try to find a way to. I don't think that Zelensky and Putin can talk. That's not fair. I don't think we should set the precedence that you can start diplomacy by invading a country. You can say that they've tried to have diplomacy before, and you could sit here and spew the fact that Russia didn't or Ukraine didn't abide by or concede to Russia's demands or whatever. But I think the best step right now is to find a way to be able to get Russia the fuck out of there and get life as normal as it can be. I watched a video of a BMP running over a civilian vehicle today, and I think the best step we could do morally for these people is to try to find a way to get Russia the fuck out of there in a non-military way, and we could deal with the aftermath later on. You could,
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Dre.
Yes, sir.
So say we try that, and say it doesn't work. Say
We are doing that. We
So-
are actually doing that.
But
That's
wait,
the thing.
on
the borders,
Okay,
we are
but say the
actually...
diplomatic, like say we try to get it done diplomatically, we try to get them to withdraw diplomatically, but for whatever reason, the talks break down or something happens and they don't. Would you then be okay with some sort of military intervention?
He is talking about the civilians. He's talking about the civilian
Certainly,
people
well, that's
that
what I'm talking about too.
are being effective, and those people they can go to Poland or they can go to any neighboring country
The
right
people
now.
in Kiev right
And
now are
it
kinda
is
stuck.
like they
So that-
kind of stuck. I agree with that because of the fact that they're being bombed and therefore they are seeking shelter. But overall, like when it comes to European Union, when it comes to European countries just doing their own thing, like they all accept Ukrainian refugees, and like Dre, like I'm so happy that they do that because of the fact that like those people are just suffering. You know, it's just people that are suffering.
Dude, like you gotta leave your fucking
You know,
family photos behind. You gotta leave
it's fucking crazy shit, right?
behind. You have to leave your house. Like I feel like
Yeah.
if there's any type of way, any solution that could be third party intermediated between Putin and Zelensky, because I do not think that it's a good diplomatic strategy for them to meet. I don't think it's a good diplomatic strategy, and doesn't set a good precedence for the world in this type of proxy battle declaration.
Yeah, Dre,
for them
I would hope that. But that being said, like overall, if those people can have at least like a safe existence within other countries, right? Like the European countries that are not being attacked, right? That's what I want. I just want to have the people to be safe.
Ashley.
That's fine.
I actually really agree with you, Dre. As much as it feels bad, I do think that right now, before it becomes an all-out like long-term war, we can get the civilians into a better spot. And yeah, we don't have to like conceding that, but if we make concessions, we could actually make stuff that would prevent this happening in the future. I don't think that.
I'm surprised that we're all talking about the same point that we all agree on. Everyone agrees that we should assist with getting people into a safer area that are citizens. It sounds like that's a talking point, even though I think there's not going to be one person on this panel who disagrees with, yes, let's get the civilians
I don't think that's
out.
what we mean, though. I think that we're saying that we concede.
No, that's not what we mean here.
We're trying to talk about the war ending.
saying give Russia a carrot.
So Ukraine should surrender.
I'm saying that right now, if we made a diplomatic, we could do diplomacy right now to try and get Ukraine into a position where they don't just get taken over again by giving carrots.
So
What carrots? Let's get specific here. What carrots do you want to give?
Saying? Wait. Are you saying that there's the only option that Putin sees on the table is annexing Kiev and like taking over Ukraine? Like that's the only thing that he wants.
No. Okay. So here's the problem. Like, and this was happening to Whisk as well. What's happening is
it's Wick.
Wick. Sorry, Wick. So what keeps happening is we're saying something like in steps, right? But everyone's thinking that we're trying to be absolutist or something in these terms. What we're saying is, like, you take steps by steps to approach these goals. You don't offer Russia anything. Putin will continue to take until you stop him, right? So he will take as much of Ukraine until you stop him. Diplomacy has been attempted. Diplomacy has failed a lot. You have to take action because he is at the step of, hey, They're not stopping me. And the best move to go whenever nobody's stopping you is forward until you can plant your foot in front of another soldier and go, hey, okay, we're good. Okay, this is the line.
To piggyback off of that,
So,
if I may, real quick.
and before you do, hey everyone, if you've been enjoying this content, how about the channel? First of all, hit that follow button if you're new here. If you've been, if you just stopped by, hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on. We do this 6 nights a week. We're always here, right? So, hit that follow button in case you haven't done so yet, and consider subbing to the channel. It's only $5. Helps us out a lot. Well, helps us provide all of this content for you. So we appreciate it. There you go. Ted history. Ted actually has a founder's badge. Thank you, Ted. Ted, shout out to Ted. Oh, God, he's so great. This is why I love him.
Prime, let me help you. Prime sub also, obviously, guys. Come on, Prime sub. You're not using it anyway right now. Use it. There you go.
Exactly.
So,
hold on. I didn't say we're into son. So Ted, thank you so much. Oh, and then the Turk. What? The Turk? 300 bits from the Turk? Wow, you definitely are a little drunk. All right, thank you so much. Benjaby with the 5 hot tier 1 gift subs. Oh, you must be celebrating because you got that new job. Thank you, Benjaby. Seriously.
I can feed the hype, Prime.
By the way,
the hype.
Now that I've been a Putin boy for the last hour, I just want to call out this guy in chat, CSOI. If Ukraine wasn't so eager to join NATO and West-leaning, Russia wouldn't need to invade them. Russia didn't need to invade them in any capacity, you moron.
But they did anyways.
Okay?
They have.
Oh my God.
They just did it anyways.
I want that guy in the panel. I want CSOI in the panel then, because I want to hear.
I'm calling you out.
I want to hear that.
Hop in, buddy.
Okay. All right. Well then, while we're waiting for that, let's go back to this hype train. We're at level 2 hype train because of the kindness. Thank you, Nair Socks, right? Diamond Hands Nair Socks, resubbing for a full year. Thank you so much, dude.
I feel bad that I donated you money, Prime. Jeez.
I know, right? I know, feeling a little dirty. All right. Wash it off with more money. More money in this direction. I think you just got to build up a tolerance. You got to build up a tolerance. Thank you. Thank you, Diamond Hands Naira Socks, seriously, for 1 full year of subs, and then all the subs you've donated to the channel. Much appreciated. Okay, because of that, we're level 2 hype train. Level 2 hype train, 20% done, 80% left. 3.5 minutes on the clock. Can we make it to level 3 hype train? Is it a possibility, guys? Help out the channel, help out the community, assist us in all the things that we're doing here, right? You like these open panels that we have all the time, right? That we come up with a wide variety of topics to come up to discuss. If you like having this space, we're honest members like you, yes, you're sitting at home, may participate. If you enjoy having this space, well then help us out, help us maintain this, help us maintain all the other stuff that we do as well, including like the interviews. We had an interview the other day, which was a lot of fun. It was on Wednesday, but then Russia invaded, so literally no one saw it. No one saw what I did. But still, we do it. So if it's something you enjoyed, then help us out, help out the community. We have 2.5 minutes on the clock. Can we make it to a level 3 hype? How do you do that? Subs to the channel, $5, only $5, right? You have an Amazon Prime / Prime game, consider using that. One free sub per month on the community, helping us out, keeping this up and running, right? Consider continuing your sub. If you got a gift sub from one of our kind gifters, consider continuing that sub, or resubs count too. Resubs help move along the hype train, right? Or gift bits or gift subs. Remember also tier 3 subs get a guaranteed spot on the panel, right? You know, the thing that says there. And I barely ever remind you guys of that, but it says right on the screen. Tier 3 subs get a guaranteed panel spot. So just put that out there. You want to be tier 3? You know, you can hop on. Thank you, Nicodemus, for gifting a sub, right? To Meats and Witch. Okay, Meat Sandwich. Fuck. All right. Capitalizations, people. All right. Thank you, Nicodemus, for the kind sub. Putting us at 33%. 33%, 67% left. Can we make it to a level 3 hype train? Subs to channel, gift bits, or gift subs. Thank you, Nicodemus, right? 90 seconds left on the clock. Will we make it to a level 3 hype train? Help us out. Any more heroes in chat? Remember, when you gift during a hype train, you get access to the hype train emotes, right? You get a special thing, hype train emotes, when you help out during a hype train, right? Exclusive hype train emotes can't come anywhere else. Help us out. We have a minute left. Can we make it? Can we make it? Do we have any more heroes? Move it along. sub to channel, gift bits, or gift sub. Support this community that is always supporting you, right?
Let's get Prime paid. I know he works hard outside of these stream hours to get these streams like serviceable. He looks up articles and everything. Like he deserves all the money he's getting.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out Prime, man. Everybody give this man some love. Everybody do it.
He puts up with me.
Part.
He deserves a lot.
Do your part. Yeah, you deal with Wick, man. That's a job in itself.
No, so there was a person in your chat
mental health
that explicitly said Turk needs to be quiet.
Okay.
I said donate 20 subs and I will shut up. And that person only donated a single sub. So
that means you gotta talk
to that particular viewer out.
No, that means you gotta talk 120 at a
chat.
time.
And if you donate 20 subs, I will gladly leave.
All right.
We get 20 subs
So
to
the
kick
challenge
Turk
is
out.
in your hands. Viewer,
you get
who
20
knows
subs.
who you are.
So
Every sub lowers your volume by 5%.
I will leave too.
You can lower your own volume on your own end. I'm talking to the viewer that said he wanted me gone.
Well, you can donate, you can help, you can gift to the channel in or outside a hype train, so consider that, right? Sub to the channel, gift bits, or give subs to keep this community up and running. If you're enjoying what we're doing, and we do a lot of it, right, then help us out, assist us. So I want to thank our top 5 gifters, because we got to do that. So at the top would be, what's his face? 100 subs of my 12-year-old Android girl. That's her name. I didn't pick it. But my 12-year-old Android girl, thank you for the 100 subs. Much appreciated. I'm not sure if you're still out there. But thank you, Boji, for the 39 subs. Thank you, Naya Socks, for 34 subs. Rhoda and Thought, 31 subs. Saunders, 30 subs. And then in terms of our big gifters, Revolt Rise at the top, number 1, 2,152 bits. Or Redheaded Man, 2,000 bits. Kamikaze, 2,000 bits. Pause with 1,500 bits. Rocky to Sleep with 1,400 bits. Thank you to all of them. These are the people who are keeping this channel up and running. Thank you to all of them. Okay, Turk, you wanted to say something to?
Yeah. So that user that called me out, B0JJY, 19 more subs to go, my man. Go for it.
Okay.
I do have a response to Ashley real quick, if I may. So Ashley brought up the thing like concessions will help. In the short term, yes, it would stop. But what the problem comes in is that in the long term, it's just going to create more disaster, more suffering. Look at Russia's playbook. They took Georgia. We thought, oh, okay, if we don't interfere in Georgia, they'll stop. Did they stop? No. A few years later, Crimea. If we let them take Crimea, then they'll stop. Did they stop? No. This time, it's just these two nations. If we let them take this, surely they'll stop now? Of course they won't stop. They're going to keep doing this until it no longer works.
That's fine. That's fine. I agree with you on that. That's something that we can all agree on, that they have imperialistic views, and once they expand, they're going to keep expanding. We're not saying that we want to keep allowing them to expand, but there's a such thing as a tactical retreat or a diplomatic retreat. And you are able to regroup. You are able to regroup listen, don't throw your hands up, Turk, because you're not in Ukraine being fucking bombed right now, bro. So don't raise your fucking hands, okay?
That's my entire point.
You too, Eclipse. You know what I mean?
Where do you retreat from that?
But seriously though, the best course of action for the people that are on the ground being bombed and being fucking shelled right now and being attacked is what?
Is leave.
That's
your stance, dude.
We all agreed on that.
I think they're frozen. Yeah. All right, we got the new person.
No, it's not leave. It's not leave. It's give Russia something to say that they can have they can walk away with something.
Give them
Kiev. I'm not saying give them Kiev. That wouldn't help the citizens on the ground. That would do nothing to the citizens on the ground.
Would we give them? Would we give Canada Maine if Canada invaded?
We give Canada nothing but blood and tears.
That's
no.
Goddamn fucking right.
Say they tried to do something like that. That's not even a fair. That's like you can't equivocate that. That's not even close to like we have a whole different type of structure here in America.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's hard to see the point. Like, so, I get it. Like, a lot of people have a hard time.
I want to let in the CSOI guy everyone keeps talking about. Okay. All right. You're here.
Oh, man.
What are your thoughts?
Hey there. I just want to say about that one guy was talking about how Ukraine having all the resources that the Russians want. Russians have the largest land mass on Earth. They have all the resources they need, and they don't need to invade other countries for their resources. The reason why they want Ukraine is they just want a buffer zone. You don't want someone holding a gun in front of your doorstep.
Exactly.
This is
Exactly.
bullshit.
I so
is
much
bullshit.
agree with you.
I can agree with that in a fucked up way.
No, it's not a fucked up way. It's
Wait, what do you mean by a fucked up way? They're
no,
killing fucking
listen,
citizens right
listen.
now.
When you talk about territory, like basically, like Russia has enough like resources that they can exploit within their own territory, right?
What
So
is enough?
it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
But what is
to
enough?
the scope.
Where?
Well, okay. Turk, go ahead. What's your leverage against me?
I was just memeing against you because Russia, you can look at the geography, they have massive amounts of land, but I'm totally into this whole, we should let them get Kiev because they want it.
No,
right?
it's
want to like minimize the impact that Russia does towards other people. So we should just back down and say
no, but
right, Russia,
it's
you're right.
for
Let's stop.
for me.
Let's not do
For
anything
me,
more. Okay, Daddy,
for me,
let's stop.
For me personally, it was like a pretty cringe where people were saying like they are invading Eastern Ukraine for the resources because that's not what they are actually doing.
No, that's
actually
not what it means.
they are doing that for the cultural win. They are doing that for the ethnically win, right? They are trying to make Ukraine a more Russian overall because of the fact that they have like this whole thing in the past that's being called the Kievan Rus, right? And that's the thing that they want to establish. Like Russia overall, they want to have like the cultural win.
Wait, why are you shaking your head? What do you think they're doing?
Me?
Like, what do you think they're doing? What do you think Russia's doing? Like, why
They
are you
want
shaking
Ukraine,
your head?
100%. They want Ukraine.
Okay, but why do you think they want Ukraine?
think they want
because they realize right now that this is the only time. So when people say they're in an existential struggle, they're not entirely wrong. Russia has been losing resources for a long time. They have been losing power for a long time.
And population they're losing.
Yes, and population, the manpower to run their military, they're losing it. It's going down. So that Putin realized and recognized that if he wanted to make a play for this, he had to do it now, because if he had waited, quickly, he just could not do it. I mean, look at the struggle they're having with Ukraine right now. Like, if this had gone 5 years, 10 years, they may not have been able to.
So let's go to that's what I'm sorry. I gotta get some other people. Ashley, Flow Trace, and who was the other person?
Ted.
Ted. Oh, Ted. Yeah, Ted, you had your hand up. Okay, Ashley.
I was gonna say, when Putin took Crimea, right? We can talk about how valid this is, but his approval ratings spike. It seems like, at least in approval ratings, and now obviously Russia has a democracy index of 20, so we could take this with a grain of salt, but it seems like his approval rating spikes when he makes plays like this. So
no,
I
not
see.
in this case. Sorry.
It does work. No, Ashley's like totally right.
Hold on, Ashley's talking. We can do it. Ashley, please.
Oh, I'm okay with him responding to me. But no, it seems like his approval rating spikes when he does this. Now, we're like very early in, so if it wasn't spiking immediately after, I wouldn't be surprised. But like, it seems like with Crimea, his approval rating spiked and stayed at around like 80% for a bit, and then it started dropping again. So I think it's very reasonable to say that his approval rating spikes when he does stuff like this. I don't think that he'd fully annex Ukraine, unless he got like it handed to him on golden plate. So I don't think we should do that. But like, it's also like, I doubt that he would surrender without a much bigger war, because his approval rating kind of rests on this war going well.
So let's go to Flow Trace, Ted, Gert, and Wick and Turk.
even if the approval rating was valid, which it almost certainly isn't, we shouldn't be using that as a justification. I'm sure we could think of any number of horrendous theoreticals that we don't need to run down where you would say that this is not okay just because it improves Putin's approval rating. But I think the more fundamental issue I take is the idea that Ukraine being on the doorstep of Russia is like having a gun at the doorstep of Russia. The interests of Russia, particularly as they concern to whether or not Ukraine is aligned with them, should not take precedence over the sovereignty of Ukraine. If the Ukrainian people want to be more aligned with the West or the East, that's fine. But I think to say that that is an intolerable threat that justifies invasion is ridiculous. And if that's the case, that Ukraine's existence on Russia's border is a existential threat to Russia, then Russia's existence on Ukraine's border is an existential threat to Ukraine. And now Ukraine is justified in far more action given the immense power imbalance between the two nations. This kind of approach, I think, just leads to essentially any time there is a difference in ideology sufficient at a border, then like both sides become immediately justified to invade the other. We should be able to sort out our differences between nations in the 21st century to a better degree than just the completely illegal invasion that Putin is currently engaged in. And I think if that's the bar that we hold countries to, then like what are we even doing?
Okay,
let's Can I just say I don't support what Putin's doing. I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just going into his reasons behind it.
Okay, let's go
I don't at all support that. Just want to make that clear.
Okay, let's go to Ted, Gert, Wick, and Turk.
All right. So first of all, to Chinchilla, I wanted to just like amend your previous statement that like it could be both about the like ethno-national idea of like uniting all the Russians and about like natural resources, right? It could be both. Not like you said, it isn't about resources, it's about having the Russians. It could be both, right?
No, what I want to say about that is that I heard like a lot of talking points, even from at like Destiny, right? Destiny said like Eastern Ukraine is like extremely important for Russia overall when it comes to resources and that kind of shit. I think that's kind of false. Like overall, I think like when it comes to Russia,
extremely
well, yeah, maybe I exaggerate overall, but that being said, like I'm just saying that overall, when it comes to Eastern Ukraine being part of Russia, I don't think that would have like a massive, like important strategy thing going on within Russia, you know. So yeah.
Right. And to I wanted to say that the situation with Crimea and like all of Ukraine is quite a bit different for various reasons. So in Russia, before like when Ukraine still had Crimea before 2014, in Russia there was always the impression that Crimea had been kind of stolen from them, because in Soviet times it had been transferred from Russia to Ukraine, and then when the two countries became independent, like
the entire country of Ukraine exists from that transfer, dude.
No, that's not true.
The entire country of Ukraine existed.
No, you're wrong.
No, you're wrong.
The Ukrainian Soviet Republic was founded in 1917, but the Crimean Autonomous Republic was part of Russia until 1954.
How about the rest of the Ukraine?
The rest of the Ukraine was its own republic at that point.
And it was never under the USSR.
Of course it was. From 1917. Well, 1917.
Nobody's arguing that.
But the point is that internally inside the USSR, it took until after World War II that Crimea was switched from being Russian to being Ukrainian. And even back then, there were like resentment by the Russian communists against the Ukrainian communists inside the Soviet Union. And then when the countries...
Why can't the Ukrainian government like just dismantle the Azov battalion to kind of wipe their hands clean of, you know, arming Nazis? Why can't they do that? Why couldn't they do that before this?
Well,
and hey, Gert, am I wrong? Am I wrong, Gert?
You are wrong. Yes.
Yeah, you are wrong.
So okay, let's Ted, please. Yeah.
Just to say this, they could dismantle the Azov battalion, and maybe they should, but I want to point out that the Azov Battalion was only formed after the annexation of Crimea. So it was like the National Guard of Ukraine was only reinstated after 2014, when Ukraine arguably was already under attack by Russia. So that changes the context a bit. But the point is that even when Ukraine and Russia were still friends in the 1990s and early 2000s under Leonid Kuchma and what's the name of the pro-Russian president who was toppled in 2014? Was that Yanukovych? I think Yanukovych, right? Even back then, when Crimea was still under Ukraine, there was the perception in Russia that this was kind of ours, and it was transferred away in Soviet times, and the Crimeans are mostly Russians, and they speak Russian. Maybe they should be Russians, right? So Putin was like playing on a historic resentment there. But the Russian people absolutely accepted that the Ukrainians are different.
Just
And
because
that is why
Russia
it's
wants something isn't justification.
No, it's not. No,
Yes,
it's not.
it is, unfortunately.
It's not moral justification.
Not
when
moral justification, it's justification. It's called Picasso's fellow.
Okay, fair. I'm talking moral justice.
Okay, hold on. We gotta move along with this list. So,
I'm trying to explain the
Ted,
difference.
Ted, finish your point, and then we gotta
I
move
think I forgot what I wanted to say, so I think I'm finished.
Okay, well, Ted, I love you're so educated on this stuff. Like, they can pull out the dates and that stuff. Like, that's amazing. That's really nice. Let's go, Gert.
So to answer about the Nazis in Russia, they were useless. They were, first of all, Germans never liked Slavs, and Slavs were destined to be eliminated by the Nazis. So that's just like useless. It's the same thing with like the Jews who helped elect Hitler into Germany. These are just things that don't matter. It's a small portion of people. Who cares about the small portion that's causing trouble? Russians don't like them. Ukrainians don't like them. Both sides don't like them. It's like neo-Nazis in America. We don't know. Does anyone here like them? I doubt it.
No.
So
Yeah. So I just want to say something about that, because Gerhard, you talk about that, and the current like invasion of like Russia towards like Ukraine is like based on the idea of like basically like they're being like ethnically cleansing people in eastern Ukraine. And there are Nazis within like Ukraine whatsoever, and so they want to denazify like Ukraine overall. That's the Russian perspective. So we
No,
gotta
it's
that's the Russian perspective of
even
like
propaganda. Russians aren't going to care about that. That's not part of it.
It's they don't care about that, but that's what
I
is
was going
like
to
a
get to the Crimea
justification.
point, believe it or not. That's
Justification
every single
of the
person I wrote
war,
down their
right?
statements. So Crimea was different because of a lot of reasons, right? So Crimea, as stated, was in a different situation than Ukraine, right? One also thing is Crimea. Plenty of Crimea did want to go to Russia, truthfully, not a gun to their head, but there was plenty that did not as well, right? Part of the reason was for bad managing. Now, was it bad managing by Crimea? Was it bad managing because of Russian influence, right? So there's a lot of reasons why that happened, and it could be said the same for the two other locations. There's a difference between politically pressuring these locations behind the curtains and causing things to be worse, because that happens, right? So Crimea, in Russian eyes, they were like, fine, take it, right? Russians were okay with that in that sense, because not only was there a lot of Russians, but in this scenario, there was also they worked hard on the justification. So the problem is a lot of people here are thinking about moral justification versus just justification. A justification of war can be simple. It does not have to be complicated. So the justification of war in that sense is, hey, they're Russians. Hey, a lot of them do want to come to us. And hey, it doesn't matter that we manipulated them into that direction.
So the casus belli. So basically, the reason that they started the reason for war from Russia, basically to invade Ukraine, was to say that Ukraine is like a Nazi thing going on, like within like their eastern borders or whatever
Russians
wanna-
aren't going to believe that. They see their lifestyle on Twitch. They see their lifestyle on
but
plenty
they,
of different locations.
but they
Russians aren't gonna
say
believe that.
they say so. So their justification is that basically
It's
like
bad.
Ukraine.
It's so bad that
they-
people
they-
don't believe it.
Yeah, I agree with that. But that being said, we should like say that because of it's so bad.
Yeah, and can you
know?
know that
reiterate
though.
Can you reiterate that concept of Crimea to Wick? Hey, fuck off! Don't laugh at me. Can you reiterate that concept of Crimea to Wick so that this imperialist take, which it's valid, can be cleared up? Yeah.
It's not that it's valid. It's that it can be manipulated and was most likely manipulated to be valid. Ukraine didn't take good care of Crimea, right? But did it? The truth is, Crimea probably offered money to Crimea in just any sense of another government offering money to its cities for infrastructure and everything. Now, how that money was managed in Crimea would be a separate issue. There's going to be manipulation, just like in the US or any government.
Yes.
Some cities, some states, the roads aren't getting repaired. That money's going into different people's pockets. It's the same thing, but in the sense in Crimea, just imagine it being way worse, right?
So it was a justified annexation in that regards.
And manipulation. It became valid to the people of Crimea because they were like, well, you're controlling our people anyway. And possibly, and I would bet that half of them or more probably didn't realize that either, right? A lot of them were so well manipulated by the Russian propaganda within Crimea that they thought that Russia was the better choice because guess what? Russia made it so it was a better choice for them.
And geographically, it's so close to Russia that it's like
that part doesn't matter. That part doesn't matter.
That's fucking cringe.
That doesn't matter.
Do you think like Lithuania needs to be part of Russia?
No, that's not what
I don't. But why not take it if you're not going to stop him, right? So
exactly.
It's just in this situation, Crimea was manipulated slowly over time. But since it worked with Crimea, since it started to already work with the other places, since it worked with Georgia, then it's going to work with why not, like the boggling crazy step of why not take all of Ukraine and see if they stop us. That's basically what's going on. The resources, the population, all those things will be added to the Russian pool, right? So the reason why is because Ukrainians aren't that different from Russians in many senses, except the current Ukrainians are quite different from Russians right now. The current Ukrainians have enjoyed a much better lifestyle than they had before. A lot of them. So it is a very different sense than it used to be. So the problem is these Ukrainians, they're probably going to be absorbed into Russia if it's not stopped. And that is my concern.
Against their will.
Against
their will.
Because they're used to it, just like Russians are.
Okay,
because Russia can control 90% plus of its population with 10%, just like in a lot of countries. In China, the minor party in China actually rules the CCP, right?
Okay,
so it's not the largest population there too. It's the same thing. If a smaller population can rule larger people, why wouldn't they?
So are you justifying us putting boots on the ground to stop that so that those Ukrainians don't follow
I don't
the
like
Russian
that
rule?
term. You guys keep saying boots on the ground because but that's not
cringe.
technically the correct term. The correct term is put troops to help evacuate people there, right? Because why would you send social workers, okay?
But what happens
logically
if a troop gets
speaking,
killed?
yes, correct. They'll get killed probably. And if they do, that's the price of being a soldier, but that's also the price that Russia's going to have to pay, right? So Russia's going to pay a much heavier price. America has better missiles, has better strategic weapons, it has better allies, it has better everything. It has anti-nuke capabilities because nukes don't work the way people think they do, okay? So they can't be disengaged before they get hit, right? So the thing is, the whole thing is, there's a lot of stops for Russia. Russia is not technologically advanced in so many ways because of Putin.
So you think we could call their bluff by evacuating citizens? You think we'd be able to call their bluff?
No, it's not
It's
about
not
bluffing.
bluff.
You have to do the right thing. This is NATO, the
They're
neighboring
begging
countries,
us.
whether they're a part of NATO or not, America, whether they're part of it or not, humanitarian objectives. This is just simply doing the right thing. We're trying to get the citizens out. If you're going to kill citizens, now you're showing us that your real goal is not real, right? So
Well, they already are.
we know that.
No one serious.
Why, don't say obvious stuff.
No one serious has believed Russia when their said reasons, their stated reasons, their stated thing, because they lie. They're very good at this, and they've done this for a very, very long time. And the Ukrainians need help. They need help, or they are going to be taken over. They are going to be brutalized. They are going to be absorbed into a country against their will that they do not want to be. We have a moral responsibility, and more importantly, it is the right thing to do from our interest perspective.
Correct. That's the other part that surprises me.
We
It
do
is
not
100% correct for all these places to get involved in it, because you're giving more manpower to the country doing bad things that you don't want
It's
them
going to
do.
be harder in the future. It's going to be harder in the future when they have more resources, more manpower, more territory. So we have to do it
more
now,
nukes.
or it's going to be harder in the future. And again, it's not going like it emboldens China, it emboldens other countries to do the same damn thing. If the NATO and the US will not stand up to Russia, then they will not stand up to China. Why would they? You know what I mean?
Wait. Honestly, what emboldens China is like basically like us coming together against.
I know
like,
what's Taiwan.
Russia.
No, look, that's
right.
not
No.
Taiwan. It's a very different situation.
I was talking about Taiwan whatsoever, but no, but altogether, it's like when we are like basically talking about like these like international like conflicts and that kind of stuff, right? And how we gotta deal with that. It doesn't make any sense that we are going to fight against Russia, because that only makes one victor, and that's like China, right? So overall, we gotta temper like these things. Like if you're gonna say like I'm gonna fight against Russia, like quick. I think it's just fucking cringe. It's just overall cringe.
Trying to save Ukrainians is cringe, I guess.
Hey, no, you guys changed my mind, because there's no way we're going to be able to do this diplomatically. So you guys are right. There's no way that we're going to be able to stop them from taking Kiev the way that they're doing it right now. And so you guys changed my position on the matter, because it's as simple as that they're going to fall under Russian rule and they're going to live life how fucking Russians have, and I'm not cool with that.
No, it's not gonna happen like that. Because of the fact that it's not gonna happen like that.
Even if they take Kiev and don't go any further, it's gonna be a civil
Can
war
I talk?
for as long as we can fucking see.
Yeah,
forward.
go ahead.
Can I talk?
Please, Chinchilla, please.
So
I
just want to say that it's not gonna happen like that, because of the fact that Russia overall doesn't want to like make or be Ukraine part of like their Russian Federation overall. Overall, it's like when it comes to the Russian Federation, they want to make Ukraine their own state, but not with certain regions,
or not with
Does that make
democracy,
sense?
not with the Western democracy.
Do you think that Russia overall has like democracy?
No,
not
in the sense that we see it. Not in the sense that we see it. Like he's.
I will agree with that, man.
Like Gerhard has been explaining. They want to have the same fucking Russian policies that they have for Russians in Ukraine at this point. Why would they let them live life the same way they've been living it after they've just bombed them?
Would you think that Western we can?
How logically can you come to the point that we're just gonna let them like do this at this point? Like, and I was like, nah, we shouldn't do that. But if they're already in Kiev trying to kill Zelensky, what happens after they kill Zelensky?
And do you think we just let them do that?
We already are.
Sure, it seems
We
like
already
you
are. So you don't believe in NATO? So that's the
But
thing,
they're
right?
not a part of NATO.
We don't have
Wait,
NATO
what
overall.
does NATO have to do with it? This is
they're
two
not a
sovereign
part of
nations.
Oh, NATO have all the things to do with this, you know?
But
NATO
but Ukraine isn't a part of NATO, bro.
Yeah, exactly. For several reasons.
Yeah,
For
but
good
he's not
reason,
saying
NATO.
NATO. He's saying,
for good reasons, in my opinion.
Remember, I mentioned earlier the part about like NATO. Yes, NATO should help, but America too, and other countries that aren't involved also for the humanitarian side, right? Because the big issue comes in supplying Russia with things that it needs, and you don't want to do that for future issues, regardless of the scenario. But if issues arise from that, Putin does not want an extended stay there, right? He wants to take over. Well, it's not about winning. He just wants to take over. He wants to establish his system. He wants to establish Russian nationalists to take over the system overall, to a sense of where they've perfected it, where they can already manage a majority of population with minimal manpower. They can already do it in Russia, so why wouldn't they try to do it in other areas that have very similar people to them before they change too much? Because right now, Ukraine was changing to a very Western lifestyle, and they were like, this is the shit. Like, this is great, man. Like, I get to do a lot of stuff. But now they're getting that taken away after they've had it only for a sliver. For like, what, 10 years, 8 years? And I'm counting before Crimea, right? They only had it for a small period of time. They're barely getting to enjoy it, and now it's being ripped away, and they're going to settle because they don't have a choice. Because this is a government that specializes in espionage, specializes in propaganda, specializes in so many things where it controls the people, right? So they know how to place enough levels of management, as if you'd want to call it that, to where your complaint gets taken care of, not the way you wanted it to, right? That's going to be the problem. That's why you have to stop them. Don't say boots on the ground. You have to use soldiers, literally, to help escort people out. That's
Is there
what
a
you
way?
have to do.
Is there a way that we'd be able to have a third party that would be a nonprofit that would be able to do that and have the capabilities to do so with taking the risk of potentially having casualties?
No matter who it is, it doesn't matter, right? It just comes down to that you're going to have
Well,
to
no,
do
it does.
it.
No, it does matter in the sense of warfare. So if we were able to implement a third party nonprofit
Mercenaries,
organization,
America pays for so many mercenaries, right?
No,
That would
I'm
be
not
your
saying
option.
mercenaries. What I'm saying is humanitarian nonprofit organizations
You mean the
that
UN?
can facilitate the
like
the
the UN.
refuge. Huh?
So like
I don't
the
want to
UN,
use.
right?
I don't
But
think
the problem
either.
with that is
I don't want to use
Russia.
the UN because the enemies are involved in the UN of Russia. So it's just
That's really the only explanation.
So the problem is what you're stating doesn't necessarily exist at this time. We do live in a futuristic society in the sense of we don't have to follow old styles. And Russia is literally using an old style of war, and it's working in Ukraine because the current world is modern and thinking, hey, let's talk about it. Hey, dude, I'm going to stop your bank account. I'm going to take away your credit card. That's not working. He has cash over $228 billion himself.
Well, it's also we're still making deals for energy with Russia. It's not like we've stopped funding this.
And probably backdoor deals too, right? So,
Yeah.
And not only that, you also have the issue with Alaska literally being within bombing distance of Russia, right? There's a lot of actual little points that we're not mentioning, but they're obvious when you think about it for just a moment, right? So there are actually issues with America having direct conflict with Russia, but America should still be involved, but they should be involved where they don't shoot the first bullet as general. So in the
But
sense
how about
of
no bullets fired? We form nonprofits to be able to.
I gotta move this
escort
along.
these fucking
I gotta move this along. Ted, and then Chin.
I wanted to say goodbye because this is a shit show and I have other things to do. I met some nice people. Hello to everyone I met for the first time. And
I miss you,
Go
buddy.
fuck yourself, Ted. Go fuck yourself. I just wanna elaborate to this shit.
This is very important because I was mistaken for a Putin supporter earlier. Fuck Vladimir Putin. All right, Putin.
Hell
Okay, so go ahead, Chin.
Yeah. So overall, when it comes to countries playing powers, right? I just want to elaborate on that. Yeah, we have certain like countries playing soft power, right? Like China. China is playing like the soft power game. So they are like basically doing the things like propaganda, which is like pretty subtle, that kind of shit. And then we have it like Russia. Russia is playing the hard game. They are basically saying like this territory is ours, and that's basically what they are doing. So they are basically doing that shit, right? They are saying like, well, these people are our Russian people, so we have like different ways of how we engage with political things. That being said, like the Russians are not necessarily winning on their endeavor because of the fact that we see within Ukraine that doesn't necessarily work, and we don't necessarily agree with that because Ukrainian people are people on their own, you know.
Okay. Absolutely. So anyway,
Thank you, thank you,
I'll have
thank
what
you.
he's having.
To my audience, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have the open walk-on panel. It'll be great. And we'll have the small council actually. So it'll be a great closed panel, invite only type thing. So come back for that. If you have been here, if you're new here, hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. Right. Don't want you to miss out on any of that content. Exclamation point social and chat. For our social media, we got Twitter where we tweet things. We have Discord where we do everything, including all of this, right? And of course, we have YouTube. YouTube's where you'll find the VODs. If you missed anything, hit up YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. All right.